Hello, everyone. Just wanted you to look at this wonderful thumb by the great Perry Chan. He is an international treasure because he's Canadian. He's Canadian. Hello. Welcome to House of the Dragon, episode 4 review. I don't even know the name of this episode. Does it matter?
Sexy Times?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like old school HBO. We got the violence. Now we got the boobies. We were talking about.
I was going to say, it's like, Gary, you got your boobies this episode.
Got my boobies.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there was a thematic through line, I feel like it's just at the core of a lot of problems that end up started. It's that good old desire to copulate. What is Otto described as coupling? That's the nice way to put it.
It was. This was actually a really good episode. I thought Shad and I were just discussing this while MauLer was getting some tea, whatever you're drinking over there in Wales, Wales. But where it's like 3 a.m, so thanks for being up.
No problem.
But like the lost art of character development, especially after watching 3 hours of the Rings of Power, a little over 3 hours. And you get more in 2 minutes in this than you do in that entire series. It's night and day. It's not even close. And King Viserys, like this, Paddy Constantine again, kind of owns the episode.
Oh, dude, he's so good. He's so good. I'm gonna miss him because he's clearly dying.
Yes, and you know, but spoiler free in the beginning. Then we spoil the crap out of it. That's just what we do here. But another good episode of House of the Dragon, and the pacing was great. So this was another good one from beginning to end. The only thing I will say that I didn't like is just don't keep watching after the next week and then listen to the brain dead morons who did a good job on the show, but just shut up. Yeah, HBO creatives. Stop making this inside of the HBO thing. You need to stop. You need to shut up because you sound like freaking simpletons.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
they contradict
I would rather they start their own YouTube channels and do their little interpretations there. Okay, go do that.
And often their interpretations contradict what the show, like you're watching it. It's like, the episode wasn't saying that. I mean...
You're like, wait a second, you showed me something different than what you're saying. But like, all right.
So what I'm talking about is this one had a female director. So they talked to the female director, and she wanted to tell us that she was a female director that doesn't direct like the male directors. Although I couldn't have told the difference, and that's the whole point. Isn't that the whole point? Couldn't tell it was a female or male director. Didn't really care. I was enjoying the show, but she had to tell us that she was a female director, and we were going to do it from the female perspective. And if it's the female perspective, then it's no different than the male perspective, which is again is the point.
And what's interesting, if anything, just on the brief comments that I heard from this director, she says, we were intending it to do it this way in like a really political kind of structured way. And that's not what the episode achieved at all. And it's like, you're either incompetent or you don't know what you're talking about, because what you're saying your intention was not achieved. But thank goodness, because it's actually better for it.
Yeah. And we know that male or female directors directing television don't have the creative freedom, in quotes, that they have for a film. It's very structured by the showrunners, Ryan Condell and the exited Miguel Sapochnik, who ain't around no more. But aside from that, if I hadn't seen, I'm just going to stop watching these things at the end because they get dumber as they go on. The episode was great. And you don't need to explain everything in your episode. Leave stuff to interpretation. That's what good storytelling is supposed to be.
It's funny you say that, because if they were good, you wouldn't be saying that. But they're shit. So it's just like, you know what? Leave it to interpretation. It's fine. Don't talk about it. Because that's one of the things I do. I'm already having so much fun with the show. Of it's like a scene will be done, and I'll be like, you see, because of the thing, and that's the thing, and thing, and you're like, yeah. Stuff that's not said, but you know why things happen.
And this episode did something that really impressed me, and it does it multiple times. And one, it's an extension of this. They don't explain everything because they trust the audience. Thank goodness, because Rings of Power they think the audience is so dumb they got to spell everything out. But then when they don't explain things, something happens, right? And you don't necessarily know the exact reason why, but you can actually think of multiple reasons that justify it. And sometimes those reasons can contradict one another, because if it was this, it can't be the other thing. But each one is justified from a certain perspective, which just makes you start to speculate, draw you in, and think like, did he do it for that, or did he do it for that? They're both valid, but it could go either way. And wow, that would it just creates speculation, intrigue. You want to find out what those reasons might be as it continues, and they do it very, very well.
Really well.
Mm-hmm.
I like. I mean, hey, you're guess what? Your opinion is valid here, Gusto. He said thought it was pretty meh. I disagree, but that's okay.
You know what I will say? I could totally see why someone would think this was a meh episode. I can understand.
Me too, actually.
How they can get there.
Well, this is why I'm holding a battle axe and not a sword here, because I wouldn't actually say it's my favorite episode, but that's more based on kind of my own subjective taste. I like fights, battles, and everything like that, and boobs in my face, not as much. And so my own subjective taste, it doesn't hit it doesn't push my buttons this episode as much, but I can really see how effective an episode it was. And this is why I hold a battle axe. Battle axe isn't necessarily my favorite weapon, but it is damn effective. It is good at what it does. And so I've decided the weapons I choose to feature in the episodes are going to reflect my feelings on the episode that we're looking at. There's a bit of symmetry. See what I'm doing here?
All right.
I would also say this episode is not just an episode that has little actiony, battley stuff. It's doing a lot of setup. It's sowing seeds for origins of conflicts that are happening all over the place in this one.
Yeah, like a civil war that's coming. Yeah. I mean, they've told us like that's what this is about. This is about a Targaryen civil war and how we get there. And this whole first season is based on the chapter in Fire and Blood, which is an unreliable history, blah, blah, blah. Called I just had it, and A Question of Succession. A Question of Succession, I believe that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole lead up to the Dance of the Dragons, which is the Targaryen Civil War that we're leading up to. We still have to meet a ton of new Targaryens. I was just talking about Aemon One Eye, who's kind of Daemon's foil, or is like he's bad, like he's going to be just bad. He's a bad guy. So, and he's got one eye, and he puts like a sapphire in one eye, or whatever the purple stone is. But hello, MauLer.
Hello. Are we doing like our brief spoiler-free thoughts? Yeah, I really like this episode. I wouldn't say it's my favorite either. It's possibly 3 is probably still my reigning favorite. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it's that important, considering I think it's a really strong episode. I get a really good sense of how everything's moving forward, and I think it's reasonable how everything's moving forward. And they clearly wanted to make sure you understand how big things are going to happen, where they all came from. Lots of small events pushed in just the right direction. Lots of little things. Lots of sort of things I'm looking forward to talking about in the spoilery part of our little discussion here. But yeah, as I said, lots of conversations, lots of people saying stuff, and lots of people reacting to said stuff. But so much stuff visually that they are letting you know has progressed. I think to remain spoiler free, because I don't think this spoiled anything. Man, have they done an excellent job from episode 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 of just degrading Viserys. He's just getting more and more haggard, more and more damaged, and slower and creaky. And this episode really felt like the one where they were like, he's running out of time. He's big time at this point. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to it going over why.
You see the clock running down on poor King Viserys. And again, if this is supposed to be a show showing female empowerment, like some message that women rulers would be better. It's the exact opposite.
I have things to say about that, because the show is actually really effective at showing implications of certain things, and show, like, as much as they want to push the people creating an woke narrative, it gives you like they're painting an interesting picture as like the benefits and detriments of men in power, women in power, and other stuff. It opens up to conversation, let's just say, and it's not a one-sided conversation that's all political.
It does, and George, People can, I've criticized him. People can go ahead and criticize him, but he's always taken a pretty egalitarian point of view, even though he's made no secret of like where he comes from politically and stuff, but he doesn't let it really influence his storytelling to the point where it's banging you over the head. That's why a lot of people can enjoy this stuff. You know, I mean, the fact that he doesn't finish his stories is a bit of a problem. You know, I didn't check how many days.
Yeah, how many days?
It like automatically comes up in my Google search now. How many days since July 12th, 2011? 4,079 days since we've had the last book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, A Dance with Dragons. That is we're going that's over 11 years.
It's a while. It's
long time. A long time. Shad, how are you?
Oh, I'm going great, man. How are you?
Fantastic. Glad to be here. Hey, she's going to be here next week. Jane Theory's going to be here next week.
Oh, awesome.
Jane Theory's nice. She's cool. She knows her stuff. So she'll be joining us live next week. We just got the confirmation. So I think this is a great setup episode. I think the tension is getting much higher. I think we learned a lot more about Damon. I thought he was kind of funny. This, especially towards the end, I thought that was freaking hilarious. So like he still owns the show, but like Patty fucking ruled. There are some scenes where he's not this dumb king. He's better than he's written in the book, which is again an unreliable narrator. So I think this is already improving on what I think is kind of a piss poor story. At least we know like what's up and what's what. And honestly, they haven't changed anything. These are things that happened in the show when we get into spoiler stuff. We're heavily insinuated. So now this is supposed to be like this is the definitive history. And that might be better off. Does it wash away the stain of Game of Thrones season 8? No. I mean, they keep standing in front of a werewood tree and bringing out that fucking knife. And at the end, sorry, Chad, I promise not to cuss.
No. I don't try to censor people, but I appreciate
that effing knife. And they bring up A Song of Ice and Fire. So like we're gonna have to talk about that.
What is this like? The prince that was promised, I like died inside. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
See, I was wondering if that would have bothered you guys. Like, it's funny. I'm basically approaching this show as it's self-contained. That the rest of Game of Thrones doesn't exist. If this show was just by itself, and as a result, those type of things, it was like. It feels a bit out of place as a result, but it doesn't make me cringe or anything. But I was wondering if you guys is like.
I don't think that's ever going away for me. It was such a goddamn betrayal that season. So
MauLer was like, it deserves to be remade. It's a story, and I agree. You know, we were talking about Sir Barristan and how they screwed over that character. It's just like, oh god, who's still alive in the books, by the way.
Yeah,
very much alive in the books,
dude. The list of characters that got screwed over is a mile long.
Yep. Well, King Stannis the Manus, is still around.
Littlefinger, Varys. We shouldn't. We'll just name everybody.
And they're all like still being very much Littlefinger and Varys. They're not like standing around just
waiting to be killed.
Waiting to be killed. Yeah. Tyrion is still around and still being Tyrion. So yeah. And it's been 11 yeyears. So we can get into spoilers now.
Well, before we do, I'll share my overall thoughts.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
That's fine. So this is one of the most kind of conflicted I've felt about it. Not necessarily over its quality, but my enjoyment. It certainly made me the most uncomfortable out of any episode for obvious reasons. But also, because again, this is a strength of the show where it doesn't tell you exactly the reasons why. So it's left me kind of trying to consider. Was this in character? Was it not? I think it could be, especially from these different perspectives. Going off what you said before, Maul, that you can see why this wouldn't be a lot of people's favorite episode. I agree. Like, this is all politics, basically.
Yeah.
But the politics are good and justified, especially about certain marriages that are proposed. You can see the reasons why, how it would very much benefit the realm. And so I'm fully drawn into the politics. And it is one of those episodes that even if after watching, I didn't come away feeling I loved that, the more I think about it, the more drawn in I am about that's interesting. Oh, that was well done. And yeah, so for me, it's one of those kind of episodes. The more you think about it, the better it gets after the fact. But yeah, a lot of interesting, significant stuff happens. Big stuff as well, like some really big stuff with certain characters that say a lot about their nature and their real kind of, you know, just how pure, nice are they kind of thing. So I was like, and that's just great conflict. That's just like makes you like,
Well, I mean, the seeds of Civil War were planted a long time ago, but they started to sprout in this episode. This is the through line from what happens in this episode, sets the precedent for Renera and her reputation, and it definitely affects things later on. We'll just say that. So thanks, Shad. We're getting into spoilers, and we talk. So we open the show with Renera getting proposals. Obviously, it was set up by the king and Alison, and they have Lord Dondarrion. He's way too old. Then they bring the young Blackwood Lord, and I honestly, I don't know if it's this character or if it's this character's. There's a Blackwood kid that comes in later who's kind of a fucking badass. So I think this is definitely him.
If this is set up, it's great. I loved him. Yeah. The contrast between this and Rings of Power, just like it's such a breath of fresh air. If this was in Rings of Power, there would have been a character in the back saying, the queen must pick an heir. The king has forced her on this thing. Yes, I know, but do you think he will pick this person? Perhaps we'll have to wait. There'll be characters spelling it out because they think you're idiots. This show, it's just context. You figure out exactly what's going on. You figure out her feelings on the matter by the most subtle expressions that make the actors do, if it's the actor's choice or the directing. But like, there's this slight little smirk from the princess that you get an idea of, her thoughts for this person. She doesn't need to say anything. And so I loved this scene, and I really loved the little guy where he tries to defend his honor, and then you see him in the background. He fights.
Yeah. Wait. Now that could be a problem because that was a Baratheon that he just, and that was, I believe, Baratheon was right there, and I think he would have been kind of pissed that might have been his heir. I'm just assuming that guy.
Yeah, you can't quite casually kill Highborn,
defending your honor, yes, but like
if this is a duel that everyone kind of consents to, and they know one of them is going to die, they wouldn't have too much legal recourse. They can be pissed about it.
I think the issue is less to do with that, more so to do with we need to see the reactions to that from the Baratheons to be like, what the, and
yep.
But all we got was the princess. I'm leaving. I'm gone. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I appreciate the point of it, and I actually like it to be like, look at that little twig. He's not going to. Oh, you got him.
And it foreshadows something. Jane knows what it foreshadows. The kid had heart, right? And House Blackwood is awesome, right? It's one of my favorite houses. It's got a giant dead weirwood tree that every night the crows come out and just nest on it, so it looks like it's got leaves.
Oh, everyone in chat saying he was a Bracken, not a Baratheon.
I thought that. Oh, was it a Bracken? Okay, well, that's why he shot him too. I thought that was Baratheon, but if that was a Bracken, then it totally makes sense that a Blackwood would stick him in the gut with a sword because they hate each other.
And I was going to say that wound. I don't know if you have any addition on this, Shad, but I was like, I'm pretty sure he's dead.
I'd run through with a sword.
Totally. God. And if it's a Bracken, it absolutely makes it. Their houses right next to each other in the Riverlands, and they just fucking hate each other.
Dude, imagine dying for heckling.
But I guess it's almost why it's satisfying because there's the thought in the back of your head that when there's a heckle, you just kind of wish,
Yeah,
but
he'll
also
never get heckled again.
Yeah, I know, right? But even his reaction, you see the kid's reaction after you do it, he's almost throwing up. He's like, oh, crap, what happened?
Pre-L. Yeah. But we haven't gotten to the Blackfire Rebellions yet, but the Brackens, they're always been the weaker house. The Blackwoods are of the blood of the first men, and one of my favorite characters, Brynden Rivers, comes from the Blackwoods later. He's actually in Game of Thrones. And they didn't do shit with him because he was the
I was going to say that name's familiar.
Yeah, it's the Three-Eyed Crow.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Werewoods popping up. They got to come in. I have nightmares about what they could do, but there has to be a reason they keep They have this werewood here, and they keep going back to it like all the time.
Yeah.
So
everyone's theorizing about it, and it's just like it could just be that they wanted to use it, but then again, is it CG or is it because it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is?
It might be like a little bit of both. You never know. I can't tell. I can't really tell.
When she's resting on it, for example, it's like that's definitely practical.
That's practical. Yeah.
But when they have like the wider shots, I think like the leaves, for example, are all CG. So yeah, they really, really want to present the weirwood. It's like they want you to know that's there, which is interesting.
I mean, somebody's watching them. Okay, so all those important conversations they're having in front of that werewood, somebody's watching. Who is it at this time? I don't even know. Children of the Forest?
Maybe it's Ray.
Maybe it's Ray. It could be Bran. You know, there is no limit on like time. You can look in the past, so it could be Bran. Could be Three-Eyed Crow. House Crackhead. Oh, that's a lot of houses in America right now, but yeah, so she the little Blackwood kid holds his own, which I thought was great. I thought that was pretty funny. But then she leaves and goes home, and we see Damon flying home. Matt Damon Targaryen flying home on his dragon, and
almost knocks her boat over.
Almost knocks it. Yeah, she hits her head. And then Damon comes back as the king of the Narrow Sea, and as it says in the book, he hands over his crown, and we're all thinking that, like, what does he want?
Oh yeah, using that as leverage, like you like me, brother. I gave up my little crown for you, so and it works. His brother is getting everything he wants, and it's kind of sad to see Viserys so happy because we know Damon well enough at this point that we know he's up to something.
Oh yeah, and Renera figures that out pretty quick. He's all, "What do you want?"
Like I guess I was misdirected because like the way that he embraced Viserys and his head was bowed and everything. Yeah, like I was getting vibes that he there was this, you know, separate. He was that what I'm trying to say. It felt like a more genuine kind of reuniting. But then, of course, you see what, you know, he's stuffing around later on. But I mean, I love the scene. They're like so much about it. The way even the way Matt Smith struts in to the hall, just the way he walks just conveyed characterization really well, and like they balance a knife edge really effectively in terms of him remaining Damon cocky, but also kind of showing deference. Like when he has the hammer and he says, "Add it to the throne." That's a sign of deference and to the king, saying, "Here is, you know, the tribute of war, and I am now." But the way he does is like, "Add that to the throne," and just throws it in there. Exactly. It hits both, where he's being subservient to the king, but also is being Damon as well. Very fine balance to hit, and they nailed it. And it's like, yep, doing well.
Yeah, and maybe there was a, you know, that's the layers of this show. Like Damon does want the approval of his brother. He does like his brother, and he still wants to marry Renera. He wants both things, and why not want both? But he gives some great advice later. We'll get to it, but he gives some great advice to Renera later on.
That's not to jump ahead because I won't, but he's definitely conflicted. Damon isn't. He's not one-dimensional in terms of like a evil plan to be executed. He's full-on human, which is super great to have.
And this is the conversation that I think like the show deserves some really good praise, because it's leading us to, because I do want to talk about what is his motivations, and it could go multiple ways, but each way is justified. He's in this marriage he hates, okay, and so you could see a reason why he is having actual affection towards someone. He clearly wants the throne, but then you're wondering, is this the best way to achieve it? Yet he's also so self-destructive and just destructive in general. You can understand why his plan might not be the best way to do it anyway. And so you just get sent off in these different directions of consideration and thought about. Is that this?
That's very much
on your toes.
Yeah, he does. And there's people like that in real life, the sabotagers. You know, we've all known sabotagers, and it's always underlying looking for like approval, right? Looking for approval from somebody that they don't need. They just need to approve of themselves. But I doubt therapy is very good in Westeros. So he just goes to the whorehouse, which might be the best therapy. I mean, for some, not for everybody. Not for everybody. Millie, I don't want Millie Alcock. Can we just keep Millie Alcock? I'm going to say Alcock. I can't say Alcock. I think that's going to be the big question, right? Because MauLer asked that prior. We get one more episode with the young actors, and then we're to the older ones. And I think the one playing Alison will be fine. She kind of looks like her. Don't know. Little concerned about the one playing Renera, because the young one's Millie is good. She's very good.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with her at this point. I wasn't sure about her in the first 2 episodes, but now that I've seen enough varied performances, and I feel like Renera is much more of a well-rounded character at this point that I fully understand her. And it was nice to see her sort of, make some choices that weren't exactly very viable for her position, but out of just what she wants.
It was very in line with her character, and you're seeing this like all play out, and so much so. It's just it's a credit to the show.
Absolutely. And everybody was playing off each other pretty good. So we get Matt Damon Targaryen coming back. He gives up his crown, he humbles himself in front of the king. The king's very happy. It's kind of like that scene where they were riding out to Kingswood. They're like, "Oh, family vacation," and he's like, he has no idea like how pissed everybody is.
Yeah, kind of. Viserys, I think, is my easy favorite character in the show so far, and he's probably going to win out over this season. At this point, it could be, but I feel so fucking bad for that guy. He just wants things to work out, and they just won't.
And on top of that, his body's rotting on him as well. And it's just
everything's falling apart for him, and he's only ever trying to make things better.
Yep. And
then
go on.
He was just being so friendly to Damon after Damon forgave him. That he genuinely that was a genuine forgiveness by Viserys. And it's just like, mother always loved you most. And he's like, I'm not the great warrior. And it's like, this is all really like genuine complimentary stuff. And the fact that Damon goes around and does that after all that as well.
And he's trying to like joke and have like good times with his brother, and then he's reminded of his daughter being like, the tapestries. You guys could check that out, which is almost like implies like she doesn't even understand. Damon wouldn't give a fuck about that at all. But then you've also got the aspect of like, oh yes, my daughter, the one I just set up like 20 dudes to marry, and she didn't pick one of them. Yeah, why don't you go enjoy the tapestries? And like, the simultaneous appreciation and enjoyment of that lack of connection he's had with his brother for so many years, however many years it's been, enjoying that being back while simultaneously being like, daughter, you're pissing me off. And you know why? Like, it just is balance,
Exactly. And they didn't need the king to say, I'm angry with you, go over there. No. It's conveyed in body language, subtle kind of, comments. There's several glances from the queen, and she's like, this is awkward and stuff. And gosh, look at this, effective storytelling, not telling, but showing stuff.
Yeah, showing that somebody is a bit too much of a free spirit in this society that's in this world that's already built up, that we already know. So we once you built up a world enough, right, you can start investing into characters, and that's something that, of course, Rings of Power can't do, and so many other shows, just like a litany of shows, cannot do anymore because the writers aren't as talented. I think a lot of this has to do with, as I said last week, they brought a lot of veterans here from Game of Thrones, just production designers and everybody working on the social. So they're old hat at this. They know how to build fantasy sets for a TV show. And there was a while, remember when Game of Thrones came out every year? Remember that? I don't know if this show will be able to do that, but it did that, and that's why it's big. The other reason it's big, it comes out at 8:00 here Central Time, same time every week, so it gives enough of us a chance to talk about it, whether it's good or bad. And what this show, what it really achieved, it even got Alison into the game, right? So kind of a boring character, kind of a meh character. She's a bit of a like Stepford wife. She's goth, she's self-harming, but you see her start to make more decisions. She gets mad at Renera for cocking up her plans, for lack of a better.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because that's pretty much the next thing that happens chronologically after that little discussion. She sits down and Alison lets us know finally that she's got a human under there beyond just the sort of one-dimensional way she's been approaching life, which was always implied. She's always given off facial expressions about the different areas, but it's brought in. It's done pretty wonderfully by the show. You could argue it's not subtle, but it's way more subtle than oftentimes we get with other things. But Renera being like, I don't want to be locked up in a castle producing heirs for somebody, and then the camera just sits on Alison, and it's like, yeah, that wouldn't be something you'd want, huh? Just sort of, that's what Alison's thinking, and that's the way you do it in TV shows. You have someone else or something else happen, and then reflect on a different aspect, and makes you go, oh, I see.
And what I like about this, right? Like they really do show the kind of another side to Alison about there are elements that she is not enjoying, right? But at the same time, they do show moments of genuine affection from her to the king still. And they're not going the whole trapped woman who's horribly, abused and everything like that. She still has affection for the king, and she still cares for the sake of the kingdom when she confronts, the princess about what happened. Like that's her own initiative saying, what are you doing? And so there's genuine motivation for her. And guess what? That creates a complex character. She's not one-dimensional. Oh, I'm the trapped queen who's being abused and doing things against my will. She's actually a bit more rounded than that. There are elements that she's doing this looks to be of her own will because she's choosing to be affectionate, and
she seems to have a level of the pragmatism inherited from Otto, probably about the realities of the situation stuff. He would have brought her up that way more than likely with his investments. We'll get to him. He's got some development. But yeah, it's interesting to, I think, what reflects. I don't know, because I want to talk about something that kind of is to do with a little bit later. But obviously, there's a scene with Alison. After we discover that from Alison, she's very much unhappy with certain elements. She's even trying to take care of a series, and the camera definitely lets us know that she's not happy. She's unhappy with a lot of the realities of the situation, but especially and this is the thing, right? It's not just sex scenes. Sex scenes with a purpose. There's a lot of purpose with her and the king's sex scene. They're showing us that like he's trying to produce yet another heir, and she is just not the expression she gives, and they make sure to show us as well that he notices it. He notices the fact that she is very, very much not into this sort of thing. And I think, because we'll get there, but that very moment is what informs a lot of his discussion with Otto later.
Yes. And it's like so subtle. You know, you gotta pay attention. You can't watch this one with your phone on, and that was a good. There's the scene right after the tapestry, right?
Just before we move on, could I mention just two lines that I liked from Alison's again, which shows her pragmatic side when the princess is complaining. Again, if they're intent of trying to paint either the queen or the princess is like how horrible it is that the princess, she has no freedom in her life or anything like that, they wouldn't have lines like this. And Alison just says, something along the lines of, man, there's a lot of people who would, be lucky to get 2 suitors, let alone a score of them. And kind of putting it in a place like, you have privilege, lady. There's a lot of things you're complaining about. And then there was another one where, it was Damon that said to her that the princess says, like, I'm just being sold off. And Damon says there are worse things to be sold off in this world, basically. Again, like, I like that they don't let her get away freely with her complaints and all that stuff, that there is, and that the show does this, that there is a larger picture and there's more context to this, interpretation.
We complimented them for episode 3 for doing that. Kristen Cole was like, you say you're toothless, but you changed my entire life, like with one stroke of a pen, sort of thing. Yeah, and I think part of what I would imagine the point that's being made is suffering is very relative. Like Alison may despise portions of her life, but there are plenty of women out there who would kill to get into her position, right? Like And so it's a complexity, like, it's all relative. Once it's the numbing, because that's the thing. Alison's been doing this now for how long? How many years has this been?
4 years, I think. 4 years since they got married.
So it's clearly had an effect. She's struggling to upkeep her her excitement, her encouragement, her sort of softness with how she approaches everything. Especially when they were like, "The king needs you," and she was like, "It's late," and it's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she's just like, the implication goes being like, I don't want to. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have a choice. Like,
yeah, it's get your ass up. The king wants you, lady. Yep. So we have a little conversation between Renera and Damon right in front of the Werewood. Right in front of the Werewood again. So a lot of these important conversations are happening in front of the Werewood. So I'm like, they've got to be. This has to. My worst nightmare is when this is over. I think it's supposed to be only 3 seasons, maybe 4. It's supposed to be limited. Like we pan out and we see Bran standing next to a Werewood. It's like, no, don't do it. But this is where Renera's like, what do you want? You were so content in Dragonstone. And he's all, I just want the comforts of home. But then he starts telling her, he starts getting around to the truth that I truly believe Damon wants, they say the House of the Dragon in this episode too. I was just like, he said the thing.
You said it. He did that thing.
But so I do think he wants his house to be feared again. Of course he still wants to be king. And he wants to be friendly with his brother. I think he wants it all. I think he's just the kind of guy who wants it all. And that's the kind of character you like, that's why we liked Oberyn Martell, and that's why, there's certain swagger that a show definitely needs, a character like this. But, she's onto him. She's totally onto him. But like, he gives her some great advice because, again, you were just bringing up, maybe you just said this, but she complains about, just being trapped in a prison in a castle, producing heirs. And he's all, I'm forced into marriage. I can't stand that bronze bitch. I don't want to be around her. Even though the dudes are still free. What does happen in A Song of Ice and Fire, though, is the women go out and play just as much as the dudes do. They do. Like Kingsguard, they'll go out and they have vows. The Night's Watch has vows, but they go find whores and paramours all the time. So, I mean,
there's a line for that in season 5 of Game of Thrones, I think. He said, if we cut off the head of every man who broke his vows in the Watch, the wall would be held by headless men, I think is what Aemon says.
Yeah, and it's the truth. I mean, it's guideline, more like that. But I mean, he's also telling her that you got to marry, and then you can still have your fun. You can go out and do whatever you want. And that's why Laenor Valerion might be the best husband you can be matched with, because he's gay. So it doesn't matter if you like him or not. He could be your gay best friend. But like everything in Westeros, all the best laid plans go to shit at some point. So, but I thought that was a really good scene because Renera said, I don't want to have kids, and I don't want to have heirs. And he's like, life is. He basically says, why, if you want to live life to the fullest, why would you want to live in solitude? Why would you want to be like that? And she said she just wants to live in solitude. That's all she wants.
When I heard that, I mean, if Viserys hears these comments from her and everything, the show is actually laying out a very good case that she would not be a good queen and ruler of this realm. She doesn't want to produce heirs to foster stability. She wants to be in solitude. She's already shown that she isn't the best with working with other nobles in the last episode and stuff like that. And so if the show is going to try and say, it's so sexist that they don't want this particular woman to be queen, it's like, I'm sorry, the show's made a good case as to the reasons why you wouldn't side with her at this point. And so I think it's intentional as well.
Yes.
That they're doing all of that.
Yeah. And yeah, this episode proves that she's young still, but she wouldn't be that great of a queen. Because she does dumb things and impulsive things. Why Damon wouldn't be that good of a king? Because he does dumb, impulsive things, probably would get him in a lot of wars. But that hasn't stopped people from being king, and that's why you'll hear Maegor get brought up a lot. Like Maegor was horrible, so that's why he's called Maegor the Cruel, because he just took whatever he wanted, effed whatever he wanted, effed up whatever he wanted, executed a bunch of small council members, took the heads of a lot of small council members, just was a complete asshole. So that's why
we've all been there.
We've all been there. Yeah, that's what led to Jaehaerys, and his great 50 year reign, and that's what Viserys is trying to preserve. He's trying to preserve his predecessor's reign, where Westeros was pretty much as peaceful as Westeros can get for 54 years.
Also, I mean, we've come to learn so much about Viserys and his motivations because it really weighs heavy on him. What he feels is his responsibility to save Westeros from the coming storm, if you will, the winter. And he's like, I got to make sure this realm is protected before I'm out, sort of thing. And it's a responsibility. He tries again to instill it with Renera in this episode, and the fact is, she just doesn't care. And a lot of people won't care. It's like, what are you talking about? The winter storm, the realm needs to defend. It's like, what do you? No, I don't care about a vision or a thing that some guy saw thousands of years ago, or whatever. Like, yeah, but he's really motivated by it.
Yeah, and that would be a good idea in the book, but it can't be from heir to heir because they aren't just picked. Sometimes they usurp, sometimes there's a great council. So that would, like, how would the information get passed down, and where is it kept, and maybe like some people can find it, in Old Town, but who knows. There's a quick scene that let us know that the crab feeder is dead and Corlys is basically taking his place. Like, he's running pretty much all the shipping lanes. And he's pissed. So that's a bit of a problem, but that's the only time they really talk about it, and they have a solution later.
Is this when they're in the council scene? Is that where they? Because what's interesting, the princess, she has a seat on the council here, and so progress. But it's just interesting to note those things. But this is where I also felt, the politics are great, because you can see, like, they propose that Corlys, but that there might be a marriage between his son and the free cities. And they basically imply if that alliance happens, they could almost threaten the throne in terms of power. And that just sets up that the princess's marriage now is so important that she marries someone strong.
It's so great. I was talking to Gary about this, right? Because it's like, if you're all just sitting in a room and you have the big gun and you're sitting on a chair with a really big gun, and in front of you, two guys are assembling a bigger gun, you're just like, what are you doing? They're like, nothing. It's just like, I don't like that. It's like, that's what that news is. That marriage, that's just an open declaration. Like, things are moving into place. Imagine what plans there are.
Right. Oh, and Bravos is powerful. It's got the Iron Bank. It's got the Iron Bank.
Oh, remember that in
Game
of Thrones, though. Like, that was
the book. It's a lot more formidable and sneaky.
Yeah,
and they are mighty resourceful. That Iron Bank. They can send people up to the north in the middle of a war in late autumn when it's just freezing. And a banker just shows up to Stannis Baratheon and just gives him a pile of money because Cersei reneged, which is such a great plot point in the book that we'll probably never see fulfilled. But coming up.
The fact that next episode we're going to be, have you seen the next time on, Shad? Did you see that?
No, I haven't.
Well, so, I mean, the implication, of course, is that we're going to be trying to sort out whatever's going on with Corlys. And it would appear that our characters are going to, visit, and events will happen in what looks to be a positive environment. And I'm just getting serious, like, Frey vibes at this point, like with Corlys, in terms of, for anybody who isn't aware, I guess there's some people watching this who might never have seen Game of Thrones or this show, but the Freys had a deal with the Starks, and the Starks fucked it up, to say the least, and then they tried to fix it back up, and let's just say the Freys were like, yeah, sure, we'll fix it. And I have a feeling that something like that could happen with Corlys's house.
There's a couple of horrible things that will happen in the future. I won't tell you. They're pretty horrible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't actually know what's going to happen, and I'm going to keep it that way at this point because I'm enjoying
I think it's part of the brand. Otto is Eric Powell. Thank you for the $10. Says Otto is slowly poisoning the king. I don't think it's Otto. I don't think it's Otto. They don't say in the books. I think they might actually get into the Grand Maester conspiracy that gets alluded to in A Song of Ice and Fire. I think those Maesters are up to some no good. So, and they mention it. They mentioned one thing a little bit that we'll get to later, that I do think was a poisoning, like somebody was assassinated. So.
If we could speculate, pretending as though we did, you know, because I legit don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I would at this point be like, I'd be wondering if it's a wise decision to kill him right now. It might be worth keeping him going a little longer because he's definitely a form of stability, and until Aegon, for example, comes of age, or things are a bit more settled in terms of what's going to happen once he's gone. Because this is the thing: if you told me like Otto is poisoning him, I'd be like, is he really? I don't know if that's wise right now. You got to be careful. He needs to get things in place first, which aren't quite there. And if you're like the maesters are poisoning him, I'd be like, well, I'd like to know what the motivation behind that is, because that's the thing about Viserys. He's a lot of people claim he's a shitty king, but I think we've been shown otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's actually probably the best king that we've certainly seen in the Game of Thrones TV universe by far at the moment. I can't compare to the lore, but
this is a fan theory. So the Grand Maester conspiracy probably goes along with the Sept on this. They don't like Targaryens. They don't like dragons. They still see them as ungodly interlopers who marry each other. The Sept is very, very religious and strict, and they're not really down with the incest. But what Aegon the Conqueror did was aligned himself with the Sept and said, "Hey, I'll take your religion. I'm accepted. Like I can marry my sister." Cool. Okay, we're good. And that was with a giant dragon, basically breathing down their neck. That's how they made that negotiation. The High Septon of the time said he prayed on it for 7 days and decided it was probably a good idea not to burn alive. So that's how the Targaryens rule with fear and dragons. So again, it's alluded to in the books, but it's not said. So and there's so many fan theories. I mean, these books have been out for a long time, and a lot of people have had, and there's been a long time between books. So a lot of people have had a lot of time to think about it. And I'm wondering if they'll bring it in. I wonder if they'll bring it in. It'd be kind of cool.
Is it possible he's just dying because of infection from his wounds?
I think Viserys is, but he discussed his father, who was the Prince of Dragonstone, the heir to the throne under King Jaehaerys, and he goes out in a hunt, and 5 days later he's dead of a burst belly. That was probably a poisoning. That was probably a poisoning. Now, who from? Don't know.
Do you remember the theory that Tywin was poisoned by Oberyn, but it didn't matter because Tywin was killed anyway?
Yep, that theory is still out there, and it very well could have been.
I mean, because it's like his corpse smelled worse than like anything ever. I thought that was really interesting that Oberyn would have got his revenge.
We could still find out in the books. I think that's something we'll find out.
So with his sickness and everything, it's hard to try and pick a political motive, like a character who would really benefit off of the Viserys dying, and two, the way that if this is a poisoning, this is a very odd way to go about it, causing a sickness that lasts years upon years to happen, and politics might change everything. And so at the moment, it seems like this actually might just be a genuine infection sickness that the guy has.
Yeah, we don't have a Littlefinger who creates chaos because that's the only opportunities he can get as somebody who's not a real lord, without a real army. So he moves when everybody's fighting each other. So he doesn't have a side and doesn't care. There's no character like that.
Which was a fantastic character archetype that was cool as fuck, and they ruined him. I will never forget the wounds they caused. But yeah, chaos is a ladder, right? Like he'll upset the whole board and take advantage where he can and climb. He got himself the Vale. He was looking to get himself the North, and then suddenly they knocked him out of the show. Oh well.
Yep. So and we'll get to Otto in a second. We are in. So this is the big long scene where there's just lots of sex. So this takes like the middle of the episode. Renera goes to her apartment. She finds a bag. There's some clothes for a page, for just like a regular townsfolk, and a note saying, meet me over here. She finds a secret passage in a room and finds Uncle Damon, and they're going to go hit the town, go check out some taverns, some brothels, and at first it looks a little fun. Like he's just taking her out. Then he takes her to the brothel and states
it's probably worth noting he shows her like a little pantomime thing where they're basically talking about how she's going to inherit the throne and everyone's booing like she's not worthy sort of thing, and that. And they do have I quite enjoyed the shot of just Damon staring at her while she was watching the play, because he's very invested to know what she thinks about that reality. I was also going to say, by the way, I think I don't mean to go back to it, I'll be as quick as I can. The whole poisoning thing, the fact that they showed us him nicking his hand on the thing and then the maggots and then to have the amputated fingers really feels like they put effort into that to show us it came from wounds from the chair. I think they even said he hurt his back from the chair as well.
Yeah. The original one that was on his back was from a cut on the chair.
And there's that line, I think, from I can't remember if it's from the show or the books or both, but the whole point of the chair will like reject rulers that aren't like that's like a sort of mythy sort of prophecy thing. But you should never sit comfortably on that throne, and those who are wounded by sitting on it are unworthy kings, sort of thing. Like it's like an aspect of that.
And the Mad King was always cut up. They always pointed that. And you're right.
I know.
Viserys is a great king. The chair is a crappy judge. Then
you say that he's a great king, right? And I'm willing to support that. I already said I would, but his decision to marry Alison was probably a mistake.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean,
he did it for love.
He's a good guy trying his best to do the right thing, and I like that they show him fumbling along the way. But you're right, he has made fumbles that probably haven't been the best for the kingdom. Took too long for him to act in regards to the war and other things, and
I like it because it all felt in character. Alison, he was tricked into believing that he was in love and she was in love, when in reality, when she discovers this episode, that wasn't quite true.
Good or bad, I think an argument can be made that Otto Hightower, while he did talk to some spies and he did talk his daughter into moving in with the king, I still think he truly believes that it has to be a male heir, and he says it even to Alison. He's like, she could be the best king ever. It doesn't matter. The realm won't take it. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what Alison thinks. It doesn't matter what Viserys thinks. It matters what the realm thinks. So he's taking a uber pragmatic point of view for this world. I think that argument can still be made for Otto. We don't know yet. We don't know.
Definitely plays in, but I still agree with everyone's criticism of him. It's like, you want your blood on the throne. That's got to play into it as well.
Absolutely. He's a second son, right? He's not even the Lord of the Hightower. So, he stands to inherit nothing. Yet he's the hand of the king, and he's got his brother telling him what to do. And the way Rias Ifans plays the part is that you can't tell. You can't. He's not showing anything, and that's a great way to play the part. Just like this really cold, pragmatic dude. But then when he does show shock and emotion, it's so subtle, but you can tell. So it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're past that. So they're at the brothel. And they went to the play. And what did you say about the play, MauLer? That it was better?
Just that it's giving Renera a blast of the fact that nobody wants her, even in the public, for Queen. And Damon seems to have done that on purpose, possibly. He wanted that to be instilled to some degree. But I can't remember what he says in that scene, if there was any dialogue to let him sort of.
He said that it doesn't matter what they think, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we're to believe his goals in this episode reflect that of trying to, dare I say, court Renera, it might be that he's...
I mean, it's interesting because he sets a scene that seems like no one's on her side, no one's helping her out, and he shows the play where now even the people are rejecting her, but he's there being the one who seems to be in support of her, and that could be his play to get her to be a bit more willing.
Well, strategically might have been the best choice if he was looking to get something to happen just later, which he... that's what happens next, so...
Multiple motivations, and ultimately they all benefit Damon until he decides
he stops it. So I want to get your guys' thoughts. Why do you think he stopped it?
Because he really likes her. I don't think I think he had every intention of taking her and then said, this is just not a good idea. I like her. And it shows you his characters I'm a fuck up. I'll take things to the line, sometimes over, but not here. but not here. You know, this was kind of this was probably a mistake. Then he goes off and drinks himself silly.
Yeah, well, that's right.
yeah.
I think how they show how he is acting afterwards, he's obviously feels like he's drunk himself into a stupor and he's just, you know, stuff it all kind of thing. That comes off as a lot of regret. That, you know, maybe it's almost like he likes her so much that he wants to do it properly after marriage or something like that. And then
I think that could play into it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to me that he you got to take every aspect in, right? Because this is why this is a good show, and this is exactly what you're talking about. I could speculate for a while. Could it be that he sees a lot of his sister to the point of he doesn't want to corrupt, quote unquote, her? And some, like, a lot of people accuse that of him with many people, and like he just drags lots of people down by doing this. Is that what he's doing? Is he taking her maidenhood, sort of thing? Is that something he doesn't actually want to do? He's gotten everything he wanted, and she's more on board with it than he is for a moment in that scene. And he's just like, damn, my whole plan worked.
Yeah.
And work.
And look, multiple reasons. It could be how he feels it would affect his brother, even though that, you know, several things that could play into it, which just make it very intriguing. It's just like, all right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and they do not have a little character pop up in the corner to go, Damon is currently feeling.
Or Damon doesn't just say it, whereas, like, you know, where the king is confronted, I tried you, but I was feeling this and I was feeling that and everything. Instead, it's just like, screw you, I'll do what I want. Let me marry her or something like.
And I felt like it was, again, the scene had a lot of purpose. It wasn't just there for HBO reasons. I really felt like it gave us an insight into Renera that wasn't completely obvious yet. She's not some like innocent flower who's hoping to be taken care of. And
I wouldn't put it past HBO to have somebody cowering over the script going, this is a potential boob scene right here. So we'll just put that in note. Boobs. Little underline, maybe 3 underlines, maybe draw some boobies right there. I don't know. And
make sure they don't miss the message.
Make sure they don't miss it.
This is why I would like to ignore all the comments made in that after the credits thing. Just whatever. I don't care what they have to say. What I got from the scene was they were like, look at her getting dragged into this underworld, and then she very quickly is like, I like it here.
Yep.
She was so into it. What the show is really trying to say, she was so into it that she wanted to finish it with someone, and she went back and picked the easiest available guy. Like that is not someone who was not wanting to do that. And to hear what the showrunners are trying to say, that, you know, that it was like she was a victim in the whole situation, is like, did you guys watch the episode?
That's what I'm saying. She didn't look away, let's say, from she had choices to make herself, and she made them.
And even when Damon started to hesitate, she was the one trying to encourage him, and then he like punches and walks away. And it's like the show's quite clear in what they're saying.
And to be fair, they don't portray her seeing him back off and go, you know, oh no, what's wrong? And they talk and stuff. She tries to keep going like 4 times. She keeps trying to restart, and he's like, no, I'm out.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting choices to make because it tells me something about her character. And I just can't believe listening to that end credits thing where they're just like, so this is it's like, no, shut up. Like,
to everyone watching, that's where Gary more like, we're not listening anymore of this crap. We're turning it on. This is complete dog crap because they're full of it. It's not what the show is saying. Like any reasonable reading of the scene and characters, and
I truly think it's sometimes these people making pretend, which whether it's good, we like it or not, I think they have a hard time. Maybe they go to bed at night with their very big bank accounts and go, I make pretend for a living. What does that matter in the world? Like, what does it do? So that's why they have to attach activists to their name or whatever to make it feel like it matters, when it can matter if you just tell a good story. If you tell a good story and entertain somebody, that matters. It matters. It's good. It's a good
people,
thing.
And then they go on the promotional circuit for Eternals and say they're saving lives.
That's a little much. Okay?
That's a little much.
That's a little much.
Calm
it down. So, she goes back, and Kristen Cole is there. She likes him anyway, so she.
They've more than set that up. Yeah, they've done their work for that.
And if there was any question, so they always in the book, this is left open. The maesters don't know, they insinuate to it, but now we know that they get it on. He definitely just like vows schmows. Let's do this.
Wow, chicka, wow, wow. He does hesitate a little bit.
He tries,
definitely,
but
he's like, I really shouldn't, but okay, you know.
Yeah, honor's only so strong. Okay,
Yeah.
this
and
ain't
also,
Ned Stark, all right.
You know, it feels like, I don't know if they wanted to intentionally flip the thing about power imbalance and influence and informed consent and all those things and everything. But if that's what they wanted to do, just to look, like we'll do it to a guy just so girls have, it's like, that's not really saying what you're thinking you're saying. You're saying that girls, you know, in positions of power might abuse that power and got other people, guys, to do things that might have been a bit more reluctant. And he was clearly reluctant to begin with, but
she can easily get him killed by doing this.
Yes. Oh yes.
She doesn't care though, and this is what I mean about characterization. Like having her do that, she knows that's the case. She'd have to be incredibly ill-informed at this point to not know the results of Kingsguard breaking their vows. So she chose to do that, and you know, it says something about her.
And they really like we'll get at the end of this episode, they humble the shit out of her character, like absolutely humble her. So like this is pretty even-handed. So after all that was a good 15-minute chunk of the episode. There was just those two scenes, but there was a little bird watching at the brothel. Little kid was there because kids hang out in brothels in the Westeros. They did.
Westeros.
So he goes straight to Otto Hightower, and this kid, by the way, works for the White Worm.
Yeah, it's delivered that way, right? The White Worm has a messenger for you or something like that.
White Worm, and that is Mysseri. That is the girl that bailed on Dragonstone earlier.
So, if you could, is the dynamic there then that she is a master of whisperers, but she doesn't necessarily work for any individual person? She just, information is a trade sort of thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, she's not part of a.
So we have yet another moment of.
Anyway, she's not part of the small council. Keep on saying high council.
Yeah, would it be fair then to speculate on why she would have wanted that message to slip to Otto?
See, that's a good question because she's screwing over somebody. Like brought her in. Maybe she's mad at Damon playing both sides.
Seem to be mad at Damon.
I don't know.
Like, really know.
Well, she could just be getting paid to feed information and so trade now. Yeah.
Yep. And hey, nothing personal. It's business. It's business in Westeros. So Otto has
just one sec. Someone in chat said we don't get that from the show though. And it's like, no, that's the thing. We do. As much as I'm calling her a master of whisperers, I'm basing that off, I guess you could say, Game of Thrones, which does share continuity with this, I think is the idea. But it doesn't matter if you know that or not. You know the concept of a person who had like little birds, all that stuff. Like the kid walks up to her, hands her something, and she says she's moved on from the skin sort of trade. Which is, I think, a direct implication. Yeah, like I think, and like she's called the White Worm. Like I think the show's done enough to give us the clues that she's like a master of whisperers now.
She's getting there anyway.
And the show doesn't need to spell it all out. There isn't someone who says there is the mistress of whisperers and everything like that. It's a credit to the show that they leave the clues, let the audience. And they trust the audience to be smart enough to pick up on them. And it's like, yeah, we get what you're saying. We get what you did. Good play.
So Otto has the fun job of telling the king that his daughter was out at a brothel effing Damon.
And look, like the scene, they just have the briefest little moment when Otto is just thinking, and it was great character work. It tells a volume right there just by his expression.
What I mean, man. So I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying it's so true. This is so true. Showing him no dialogue. We get to think, what is he thinking right now? And you just get to go through all the possible interpretations, but the primary one being, I'm assuming you're going to go into it. I didn't, like I said, carry on.
Oh, yeah, he's clearly reluctant. He's like, crap. And he's like, what do I do? But he feels like he has to. And it helps contextualize the conversation later when the king, accuses certain things and stuff. But it gives an extra layer of depth to Otto, and it's brilliant. It was really well done.
Yeah, I think he can foresee all of the results. And is it worth splintering off Renera in exchange for possibly his role as Hand of the King. That must have been something he must have considered as a potential, at the very least, pissing off Viserys. He knows that's gonna, but is that thorn in her side, thorn into Rhaenyra, let's say, worthwhile enough? Because you might think maybe he could get that message, or at least the gossip, to the king without it being from him. But then would it be given as much weight? So it's like this big old balancing act that he's got to consider. And I think they did a good job of just capturing that in just an expression.
So he walks in to tell him, and Viserys probably doesn't believe it at the beginning, but eventually he probably does, but doesn't give a shit. At first, Otto Hightower says your daughter was seen at a brothel, and he's all, what of it? Who cares? I
love this scene. First is like, seen doing what? And it's like, and Otto's starting to sweat a bit. It's like, it acts unbecoming of a lady, and it speaks plainly. And Otto's like, you want me to spell it? It's just a good exchange.
And yeah, because you choose the wrong word and you might lose your head. So you got to be so careful. I said to Gary, I was like, what word is he going to choose? What is it that he just goes, coupling? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And you could tell Viserys probably believes it's true and doesn't care. I don't give a shit. This is and what obviously he's going to do is do his own thing. But this is where it becomes very clear that Viserys isn't a fucking dummy. He tells Otto right to his face,
so good,
his exact motivation. Right? He's like, I know you guys are all out for yourselves. I know it. I know you want to seat your own blood on the throne. But now you have spies on my daughter that you lust for the throne so much. It basically says, get out of my sight.
And he says that he doesn't believe Otto, but when Otto leaves, you see him, and it's just like, he's giving weight to the accusation, and there's good conflict that they do.
Well, yeah, and if you call it, when Otto's like, I have bad news, and he's like, oh no, the sea snake, what has he done now? Sort of, that's what's on his mind. All the political stuff, the war that's into going to close on. It's like, no, your whole family is falling apart. Just FYI. It's like, of course he doesn't want to believe it, but yeah, I thought it was pretty great that he completely dresses down Otto as though he's known this whole time. Viserys is always implied. You can see it in his expressions when he gets advice from different people. If you remember when Strong advises that he have his daughter marry what's his name? The Corlys's son.
Laenor.
He's like, oh, let me guess, you're going to recommend your son, because Viserys has always known everyone's out for themselves. But he entertains their ideas as reasonable suggestions and tries to talk to them because, he's a very, very kind, wholesome kind of guy. But yeah, when he heard that from Otto, he's like, enough. I know exactly what you want. Don't even try. And it's just like, yeah, it was really satisfying to watch after the several episodes of sort of. I think this show wanted to imply almost that Otto was getting away with it in front of everybody, but he really wasn't. Viserys was no less intelligent than we were, spotting what Otto's doing. But Otto still did well. He was still, he did the best he could, really. I was saying to Gary when I watched it, I kind of wish I would have seen more of an attempt to, I guess, manipulate on Otto's part. Be a bit smarter with his words, a bit more careful. I got the impression that was who he was, but in both scenes in this, it seemed that he was just not up to the task of being able to try and craft the right words at the right times, and it cost him. Yeah,
sometimes just best to live to find another day.
Yeah,
because
he's done that before. You'll just stop a conversation. Yeah,
yes, as they would say in the books.
Well, it's interesting because pretend Otto didn't even want his heir on the throne, right? What the princess did is so serious. This could ruin everything. Just by loyalty to the throne, you would need to let the king know that and try and get ahead of it, try and manage any possible rumors, find out who else knows and everything. His duty. He needs to tell the king, but then at the same time, I think it really. I almost got those vibes that it'll make it look like he's trying to serve himself, but this is stuff the king needs to know, because what
Yeah.
the princess did could ruin everything.
So that's why
Yeah.
they're, I mean, as far as a viewer is concerned, although it's pretty clear Otto's out for himself.
He is.
There's plausible deniability that this guy at least believes what he's doing, right?
Mhm.
Still a selfish prick, but he might feel like I am still doing the right thing. And that's still, and it might not be wrong. That's the thing. That's the heartbreaking thing about this. It might not be wrong. And as we're seeing Renera go along, it's like, yeah, she's not going to be very good.
And seriously, think about the complexity of this question or decision that Otto has had to make, and the level of conversation we've had about this single one decision. Like, seriously, is there anything even close to this level of complexity character work in Rings of Power?
No.
It's not even on the same, in the same ballpark.
No.
3 full episodes with Elf Guy, and I don't know anything about him. He's just Elf Guy.
He's just Elf Guy who has to tell us things we can see on the screen, like, hey, they dug these tunnels to avoid detection and light. Really? The orcs?
Whoa.
Wow. Thank you.
I need to write that down, man. Wow.
Hey, the sea is always right, though, guys.
The sea is always right.
Did you see Corliss Valerian saying that? That'd be kind of funny if they did. Oh my god, it'd be fun. Yeah, that would be funny if like this show somehow took a dig at like the Orville does to Star Trek Discovery. The Orville takes little digs at Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like that tardigrade they had. So the Star Trek Discovery had a tardigrade that helped the Enterprise travel in space and time, which they no, I can't even say my opinion. I don't care. My opinion. They stole from a guy named Anas Abdin, who was a video game designer. The whole concept of it. That's my opinion. So the next season, Seth MacFarlane puts in a tardigrade that sells porn on the ship, and then the porn infects the ship with the virus, it's so effing funny. And that was just straight up a dig at Star Trek Discovery. So it happens. It does have the show must be too classy to do that though. All right, so I'm going to share this image because it's great. I'm a big fan of old Valeria, the whole myth of it. It would be killer to have a show. I mean, it'd be just uber fantasy though. It'd be like just straight up wizards and sorcerers everywhere. And, they were terrible. They enslaved people, but there's that diorama of old Valeria just right in the middle there. And see, this director did a great job. She didn't do a great job explaining her own work after the episode, but she did fine. Like, don't care what your junk is. If you direct a good episode of television, that's all I care about. Anything else, don't care. But this is a great shot of the very tense conversation between those two. But this is where Viserys, like, just you show like, oh, this guy's got sack. He's got sack.
Oh yeah.
He's so fully realized at this point that I'm almost sad. So I'm like, oh great, the story's he's come to an end. They've done everything with him now, so like it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, like the cast will change after next episode, but I think he should survive till the end of the season. But I don't think it's any secret that he's going to die. They've been like foreshadowing it for the entire season, and there's a Targaryen civil war. So, but something's got to cause that civil war. But what this show is presenting is there was a lot of things, and it actually started before. It wasn't even technically Viserys' fault. It was King Jaehaerys. If you go back and watch that epilogue, when he just puts it off on the realm to find his own heir, and they picked Viserys, he cracks a little smile in that little thing, and that was just like, that's the guy I wanted, although Rhaenys like had a better claim blood wise, but it didn't matter. So they set that precedence that it's got to be the firstborn son. That's the way it was. It's the way it is, and that's the way it will be, because we've seen Game of Thrones. So he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he has to have a reason to pick Renera as his heir. And it's probably because of her mother. And he said that when he was drunk. He's like, I felt like, this dream I had of having a son with Aegon's crown. I was so obsessed with it. I was so obsessed with having that heir that I think I killed your mom. which isn't really fair because women died giving birth all the time back then. But at least I'm glad they introduced that part. That's the part of the books that like Dan and Dave like really fucked up on from the beginning, like not being that into the prophecy, the magic, not wanting to do flashbacks. That's fucking ridiculous. Everything about them, now that I think about it, was ridiculous. But I'm glad they played into that. But this scene was pivotal. This scene like really sets up that he's not that dumb, and this guy's been holding the realm together, like our boy Bobby Baratheon, who was, a drunk and a sod, but he held the realm together. That guy, we liked him. We missed him. We miss him.
Yeah, and remember, like it reminds you, like there's a lot of people would claim he's a weak king because he doesn't make decisions fast enough, and the obvious pragmatic one, and then you go obvious, like the guy over there said the other decision was obvious though, and the guy over there says the other decision is obvious, because everyone thinks they know the right answer. And if you remember when we join up with Robert in early Game of Thrones, one of the decisions he has to make is that Daenerys is on the rise. She's with the Dothraki. She's getting somewhere. It's like, kill her now to make sure she doesn't, encourage a big old rise up and attack with her 3 young dragons. And he's like, yeah, we'll send an assassin. And Ned Stark is like, that's disgusting to go and kill someone just because you worry they might. Doesn't he say like you're afraid of a little girl like miles away across an ocean? And Robert's just like, that's a stupid way to look at it, considering how bad this could get. And even the council members are trying to compel him against that. And it's the same. What I'm saying is, like, you could have a king who's like, I don't know what decision to make, or one that commits straight away, and then you'll get loads of people angry at them. And it reflects what Viserys said. Every time I make a decision that pleasures anybody, it'll pain someone else. And it's just, I think the perception that he's weak because he's indecisive is almost naive about the position of king and how complicated it is. And I'm enjoying it. Lots of parallels.
Right. He's my favorite character at the moment.
So Otto gets sent away, and then Alison has another conversation with Renera in front of Renera. Sorry, I keep mixing up. Renera in front of the Werewood again, the Werewood, and she asks if she shagged her uncle. Renera denies it. They have, and then she's like, hey, I helped set up some of these betrothals, and you're effing everything up, right? But she seems upset for another reason too. Not really sure what that other reason is. Well, I guess we'll think about it.
You talking about Alison, or?
Yeah, Alison.
Because one of the things I was thinking about with her is, especially with other things were shown in the episode, is do you think maybe she's just like, I did my duty to a T, and you are screwing everything up because you're doing whatever you want, which is like, out of respect, I didn't, you shouldn't, like sort of aspect. It seems like
that's a great view of it. And wow, like the level that the princess goes to deny it, like lying through her teeth, is extreme. And you understand what else would she do in that situation, because she's like, she knows she's screwed up and she's on the back foot, but she even like swears on the her mother, the death or something of her mother, that she didn't do it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It's interesting. Did you catch, by the way, and I'd have to rewatch it to make sure it was there, but I'm pretty sure it was there, when she says, like, we've been told something you did last night, Rhaenyra's like, oh shit. And then they go, you seem with your brother, and then she goes, oh yeah, no, that's the because she thought that they knew
get out of that one. It was the other one. Sorry.
Which it would be much more likely that she may have been spotted for what she did with the King's Guard, technically, but
that would actually be worse. I think, like, if spoiled by another Targaryen, I mean, I guess you could ultimately marry him, or like nobody would like if the information doesn't get out, nobody would care. I mean, you could like Viserys, I guess, could have commanded the Hand not to say anything, but he doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust him, and you could tell in that moment he doesn't trust him before he even tells him, "I don't trust you." Like that. That's part of the subtlety of this writing. So he couldn't command Otto all day long, and he knows like that doesn't matter. The word would still get out. So.
And I think someone could make the mistake of saying, like, really, just because Otto had a spy on her or whatever, that's enough to, like, and it's like, nah, it's the Alison thing. I think that's almost more the motivation than anything else, actually.
Well, and that's how Renera gets out of it with Alison. Remember, like, Alison says, my father accused you. It's like, your father, did he see us? Well, no, it was a verified source. It was an
it was
authoritative
trusty source. I'm sure of it. It's like,
yeah.
okay. That's the thing. That Otto, that might not have been something Otto foresaw, that his position would be used against him hardcore for this by someone like Renera. Because she's not stupid either. She's got a couple of cards up her sleeve.
Yep. Oh, she's manipulative for sure. So is he. So
and so some of the things that the princess says in this scene is like, to question my virtue is an act of treason. She goes as far as to that. And I think she even says, like, swears that she's still a maiden, and is like, what I find interesting is that Renera, the princess, she's in the wrong. She really screwed up. And she is so desperate to pull herself out of her own stuff up. She even plays the victim. Like, these accusations are such a horrible thing. And I was like, I was surprised that they would be so honest about people being accused of certain things that they're honestly guilty of, because we see in the real world that people who are guilty, sometimes they act, so how dare you accuse me? It's all against me because of this and that and all that. I was surprised they did that, but it came off as true. Like, it felt true as a result, because that's what people do in those situations.
It is. And basic, I mean, like, having this based on a lot of stuff from actual history, I think helps. It helps, that's where a lot of these ideas come from, By the way, just got to mention EFAP and Az's work on Batwoman internet lore. It's classic stuff. Okay. If you're going to go
finish up our coverage of that, we still haven't done it, but we will. They will all be out eventually. But yeah, Batwoman, what a legendary series! Oh
my god, you see that trailer, the fake trailer that they made? I mean, it's kind of cool in a way that they got everybody back to make this fake trailer of Batgirl. Did you guys hear about this?
I didn't see. So how does that work? Did they have the actors like come and do some stuff?
Yeah, they had the actors come in and reshoot stuff.
That's cool.
I mean, listen, Batgirl was gonna suck. Okay, it was just gonna suck. That's why it got axed. Does it deserve to come out and be judged on its own merit? I don't know. I think axing stuff like that's probably a good idea for entertainment and a whole. It kind of sucks for the actors, though. I mean, who just signed up.
Maybe if it's completed, it's worth putting it out. If the work's done, let it be judged at least, because like, I don't want any more Rings of Power, right? But if the whole season's done, it's like, should it be shelved or released at this point? It's like, well, I guess if it's created, I don't know.
It can create a whole other industry of great content like we've gotten from Rings of Power.
That's true.
Like Night's Watch, your EFAP, our boy George the Giant Slayer, and European Lore, and Lady Gravemaster, and I know I'm forgetting somebody here. Disparu. How did I forget Disparu, for God's sakes? And so many others have made some really good stuff that I love to watch. I get up in the morning after I do my review and I watch all their videos of my boy Ryan. It's great. So however bad that is, it creates better content. We create the alternative, and I'm laughing my ass off. Shad losing his mind over the Rings of Power is some of the funniest stuff I've seen. I thought I was like, poor Shad. Shad is getting riled up about this stuff, man. And that's good.
It deserves it. Like when it's that bad.
Yeah.
The more episodes go on, the more these two shows diverge. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Reset the Cripple. I'm going to watch it right after this.
Oh yeah, I was on a 5-hour stream before this stream, before House of the Dragon. I just bounce between streams. I'm starting to wonder if I'm digital at this point rather than physical.
Hey, there's a lot of people on. FNT can be hectic and overwhelming. These recaps are nice. Change of pace. Thanks. Keep it up the good work. Thanks. 50 Shades of Beige. I thought last episode was fantastic. Of FNT. Oh, both my cheeks were hurting. I was laughing so much. And we got to play a clip of our friend Ryan. We'll play it a little bit later concerning this show. It's concerning the show that's sparking news. Our buddy Scotty. What's up, buddy? Shared. We apparently Ryan made somebody angry on the internet. I know.
What
he did, a baby boy.
I think I saw that clip. It's the one they shared from Friday.
It's so funny. It's so good. It's on the nose. He's absolutely right. We'll share it after our recap, but thank you. Hey, we try to bring variety here at Nerdrotic. And I love these. I am absolutely, we've gotten great feedback on these. I know I mentioned like sometimes we get the hate emails, we all get them, but they're outnumbered 200, 300 to 1 from like really kind, nice emails. Even some of the really kind, constructive criticism that like we all need, and keep it coming, please. Because it matters. Like what you guys think matters. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The relationship between Galadriel and the horse was pretty subtle. The writers don't spell it out for you. It's left to your interpretation.
I don't know. I'm not sure how subtle that was with the slow-mo and the happy face. It's like how could you get any other interpretation?
I got to give credit to Release the McCracken. He put up a meme with the let's get it on. So I'll put it in the description. Release the McCracken. Love you, man. I met you in Vegas. And he did that meme that gave me that idea. So just want to give the man some credit. But sorry, MauLer, go on.
Oh, just that when I saw that face that she made, like first thought I had, and apparently everyone else did, was like just use Joker makeup would be perfect right now. Just the red and the like.
Oh, somebody will make that right now.
Thumbnail potential.
There's so much thumbnail potential with that. And then another crunchy face she had that I don't know who found this picture when she's talking to Elendil and just being see you next Tuesday. And it's so bad that they had to release an article in the Hollywood Reporter on the 9th going, she's on a character arc. It's an evolution. It's like, yeah, but we need to be invested in her in the first place. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry, she's absurdly like hard to watch sometimes with the way she speaks to people. You have to have Sauron trying to make better arguments than her. Like, just calm down.
The only character arc I want to see her on is her arcing off a cliff. Okay, that's it.
She is so unreasonably female doggish. Let me just say that, like to an insane level. I can't believe that the writers
Can you
actually
contrast it to the women we're seeing in this. You know, again, it's normal. Like, I hate talking like this. I hate going, well, look at these female actors. I don't even want to, like, we didn't have these conversations before. It was just, these are actors and actresses we're talking about in a show. And we're not separating it by gender. All the bullshit. I just want to talk about a show. But it's contrasted. It's embarrassing. Like, Amazon should be embarrassed by what House of the Dragon has been able to accomplish, even after the complete and utter disaster that was Game of Thrones season 8. People are still liking this show better than your brand new one.
And I don't think this show has reached the quality of like Game of Thrones season 1 in terms of writing characterization. It's just good and competent.
Yeah.
And some moments are great, some moments are okay, but to have a show that's just good, and then in comparison, like Rings of Power is unbelievably bad. We're talking like 1 or 0 out of 10 bad.
Well, yeah,
the writing is just.
The guy that we were looking at on that stream, he said that Rings of Power was so good, it's obvious that all of you, us lot, are lying when we said it was bad, because like it couldn't be bad. It's that good. And I was like, what? And what's so weird is he said, like, the way you know they're lying is because they said it would be bad, and then they said it was even worse than expected. And I was like, I think it is worse than expected. I thought it would be better than this.
I wish I thought it was good. I want it to be good. I want Lord of the Rings to be good. I want everything with Tolkien's name on it to be good. It would be so much better. Oh my God, it'd be awesome to be going live at midnight every Friday talking about a good show. God,
yeah,
you know, it's just. But things don't get better unless you point out what isn't good. It's criticism. If we just shut up, and then we'll continue to get crap. That's why we've gotten so much crap. They've been able to really, I'll use their word, marginalize criticism, the corporations, because they have all the power. They've called us gatekeepers. How am I gatekeeping anybody? I don't own Amazon. These guys don't own Amazon. We're sitting in our freaking rooms at our house, just speaking our mind. And apparently, like, Shad and MauLer are connecting with more people than the Access Media, and they're getting salty about it. They're getting really Forbes.
Yeah, I can imagine that would annoy them a little bit.
And like it's indefensible when they say, "Oh, Rings of Power is good." It's like, really, here are all the reasons why it's bad. And I've had no one come like, well, I guess Lofty was the only one who tried to argue defend it, but when they do, it's like, oh yeah, what about this other thing?
Yeah.
To justify the point. And it is objective garbage, Rings of Power, and
someone just reminded me in chat. I let Gary know this, but I would mind telling Shad. So this guy who was being very critical of all of us, very much hates all of our work, thinks racist, sexist, all the usual stuff. He was saying he's really excited for the rest of Rings of Power, the remaining 6 episodes, especially because it's 48 hours long, those 6 episodes. Which I said to Adam and Sitch, if I said this to Gary as like a fact, you'd laugh because it's like, what are you talking about? That's not even possible. He said, no, it was announced that there's going to be 50 hours in season 1, and so the part that confused him was that episodes 1 and 2 were an hour long. So,
is this a little kid? Like a little?
He's pretty young. He's pretty young, yeah. So because the first thought, I didn't even need to check if it was true. I was just like, no, that's not true. They would never do that. That's not happening.
Maybe I can talk my son into debating him, my younger one.
I was like, who lied to this guy and tricked him into thinking it was a 50-hour season? Like, he actually expects over the next 6 episodes to be divvied up into like 8-hour episodes. Could you imagine that shit? Like, oh man, tune in for the next Rings of Power episode, 8 hours long.
Oh gosh, at that point you'd feel bad arguing with this person. It's like, you know,
Whoops.
I don't want to club a baby seal or anything.
No, I don't either. Is he even old enough to watch House of the Dragon? You know, that's the question.
And like the thing that makes it so sad is that if you were in a conversation, you'd be like, I think you mean the season the series, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 put together, and he'd be like, nope, just season 1. You're like, okay. Like, okie dokie.
Yeah. So back to the good show that, again, 7 out of 10, I think, is a pretty decent assessment.
I would give this episode about a 7 out of 10 for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. I go back and watch them again, and it's a pleasure. I hate to say it. I never thought I'd be talking about this show this way. This is so crazy. But because I watch it with MauLer, but then I got to watch them with my wife. So we go in our home theater, and it's really nice. And she watched 2 in a row, and she was like, "Oh, when's the next one?" I'm like, "Oh, it's weekly, honey." She's like, "Weekly sucks," which is totally against my whole. Like, don't tell anybody. Yeah, no, but she was into it. She was into it, and she felt the same way about Game of Thrones than we did. So it's nice. It's nice that I can like sit down and rewatch something with my wife and enjoy it. It's rare. And then we have 2 shows out potentially that are good. I haven't checked out Cobra Kai yet, but I plan to. And people I like, people I trust, are saying it's really good. So we might have 2 good shows out right now. We're spoiled, obviously.
I know.
Absolutely spoiled.
That's all right. But plenty of Marvel stuff to come later. All right. So where were we? We were at Alison and Renera having an argument. She lies through her teeth, and she convinces Alison, who they're genuine friends. Like she wants them to remain friends. But you could see Alison is just tortured because, by the way, she saw that whole conversation between her father and Viserys. She watched that whole thing go down, and Viserys knew it. Like, she was behind the dresser, so like she knows it, and it's leading to something. So then we get a great scene between Damon and Viserys. Damon gets freaking hung up.
This scene's so good.
Viserys found Damon and offered to bring him back to health while she was selling him out, basically at the same time, which is so good. And she even hands him like some hair. They call it Scale of the Dragon in A Song of Ice and Fire, not Hair of the Dog, Scale of the Dragon. And he dumps it out. He's a fucking whore. Sorry, Chad. Effing whore. And she's like, I'm no longer a commoner. He's all effing uncommon.
Yeah, he's like, uncommon whore
then. And then so he's all hungover and he's getting arrested, and boy, do I know how that feels. Okay, so he's hungover and he's getting arrested, and he's getting taken to his brother, and Viserys looks all the king. Like, doesn't look injured. He looks regal. and he kicks him when he's down. Oh, he's pissed.
He's pissed, and rightfully so.
Yeah, because it feels like this was what Damon was planning. This is why he's here. So just top tier betrayal, you know?
And David, he just doesn't give it an F. Like, he's just like, what? He doesn't even bother to deny it. And look, it was so in line with this character. I kind of loved it. It's like, who cares? You're the king.
I have no idea what it's like to be a king. I've been a boss once, right? Had a few employees. And I know, like, things are simmering. A couple of people are making out with each other. Somebody's not happy about this one thing. Somebody said, something not so nice about me. Like, I hear it all as a boss. And it's like, is this something that I should just because you have to decide, do I let it ride? Is it a big enough deal to confront and create all this drama? Or is it just somebody who was mad in a moment? You just let it go and it'll be fine. Or it's something you need to address. It's somebody you need to fire. So I can't imagine being a king and having to deal with all this shit. It would be crazy. That's why I hated being a boss personally. I liked it when I worked alone. I liked the solitude. Had some really great employees though, who weren't a headache at all. And they were wonderful. And I have the best crew at Nerdrotic. Just want to shout that out. X-Ray Girl, Quarter Black Garrett, and Perry. But normally I just, I don't want to be this fucking leader. So I have great sympathy for him. Like, Viserys is like, I can't put out every fire. I can't trust everybody. I can't even trust my own effing brother. But this episode, he finally, like, Viserys had to show his cards because he held that back because it was actually protection. The key to a great grifter, a grifter in real life, not here on the internet, but a grifter, somebody who wants to rob you, is to convince you that you are the dumbest motherfucker in the room. Like, that I am the dumbest motherfucker in the room. So people, like, put their guards down around you, and because they're not worried about you. So you learn a lot. And he had to show his cards. He had to show Otto, like, I know what you're up to. I know what the fucking small council's up to. And bro, I know what you're up to. And he's just trying to get him to confess. Confess that did you like, rail my daughter. And Damon, being Damon, doesn't deny it, right? Doesn't deny it, even though he didn't, right? Doesn't deny it. But because Damon knows it doesn't matter. I can deny it. What was that great line he said, MauLer? I can't remember it. He's what's the accusation so I can deny it vehemently or something? I need to know the accusation before I can deny it. Which was good. Yeah. Which was really good. But yeah, he just lays there, and Viserys kind of like lays it out and then says, get the fuck out. Go back to your wife. I never want to see you again. And it's a great scene. And then Damon looks like he goes back to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He's just like, screw it. I'm done.
Then we have a scene between Alison and Viserys. They have a little chat. Then Viserys and Renera have a little chat. And this is where you see in the trailer, he's like, he basically says, you're my political problem. You are the problem in my life. You are the thorn in my side. So now he's forcing her in the marriage. Basically, he's like, I caught you, and this is what I'm going to use against you.
I quite enjoyed that little line, by the way. Like, you're trying to use me to solve your political problems, and he's like, you are my political problems. Like, it's just fun.
Yep.
And it's you understand exactly why he's acting like that, and her protests and everything. Of course it doesn't work. Like when she tries to say, if I was a man, I could father a dozen bastards and no one would care. It's like, you're a woman. You can't get away with that. Like there's just biological differences which make that almost impossible for it to work out. And so that's the reality. The king's like, yeah, you're a woman. It's different. That is it.
That's it. That's the reality of the world. It ain't fair. Life isn't fair. Never is fair. So that's one of the good things. So she has to get married to Laenor Targaryen, which, considering what she wants to do, would be a pretty good matchup, considering that it's no secret that he's gay. So having heirs,
So that hasn't been revealed in the context of the show, though, has it?
They could change it. They could change it, but that's a well-known book thing.
Yeah, judging from the next time on, that's going to be a big part of next episode now is her and Lenore.
Yeah, and she knows, by the way. So she knows what's up. So that's why she kind of laughs about it, but it's still a smart effing move. And even back like that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want. It matters what the realm wants, right? At this point. So she's forced in. So actually, Viserys takes this like utter disaster and uses it to his favor, and just pray that the info doesn't get out, and he's going to have to deny this now. But this is the info's probably going to get out. I don't know, but it's probably going to get out. And I think that's what I was talking about. Like this is the not the seed being planted, but this is the civil war sprouting. This is something that's going to tarnish her reputation, and it affects something in the future. Something in the future that I won't say. But yeah, this is a bit of a problem. And her impulsiveness is a bit of a problem. So you're trying to show this like strong-willed woman in a society where it's like it'll eat you alive if you like. We all can't do what we all want to do. So I think it does like really show a balance of things.
Yeah.
And
the king, he constantly has had to do things for duty's sake and stuff, and is torn between what he needs to do. You're absolutely right. Like the show depicts that everyone has their duties, and sometimes these duties are different, but it's not necessarily women have a worse role than men per se, because men are getting slaughtered and everything. And the show even goes out to say that this princess, she has a lot of privileges. When she tries to complain, it's say, hey, pull your head in. Some people would be happy with 2 suitors, not several dozen and things.
Yeah. I won't say there's one thing they showed in the trailer that I wish they didn't. Because it's a huge spoiler, but especially for the end of the episode. But sometimes they just put too much in those effing trailers. But where this is going, it's all going to hell. Okay. But again, this was a great scene for Viserys where he sets up like, and he also mentions like, it doesn't matter what the truth doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you slept with Damon or not. It's
perception. It's what people believe.
Yep.
Which almost, if I was to guess, might have been intentional on Damon's part. If you remember, he takes a little hat off when they get into the play, like as if to be, you didn't have to. You can have sex with somebody with their hat on. You can do that. That's possible. But he makes sure to take it off, and her hair is very distinctive.
That's true.
Makes you wonder if he wanted them to be known.
Well, and he was with Maseri at the end, who, ratted him out, but also ratted her out. So yeah, now that I think of it, it does serve him ultimately, because he doesn't get the throne anyway.
Yeah, he's causing a bit of chaos, isn't he?
He's causing a little bit of chaos. I don't know, like, it's still like if he wants to marry Renera to get closer to the throne, unless he just knows his brother would never say yes to that.
Yeah, it seems like, if he even proposed it without doing anything to screw things up, I don't think it would ever be entertained at all. And so maybe he's thinking, well, if I put her into a corner where no one else would accept her, but I would, and he thinks it's, a political match, there is some logic behind what the chaos is sowing here, actually. What's
cool, though, is like we don't totally know.
Yeah, I love that.
Because,
it shows it shows that they have faith in the audience, but this type of discussion is an asset to the show because it gets people talking about it. And if they, even if something happens that we thought wouldn't, or where our speculation was wrong, if it's justified and in line with the character, then it comes as like a twist. It's like, oh, look, I see where that came from. It makes the show better as a result.
It does. So he, Viserys finds a way to use this to his advantage because he's not dumb, and she's got to do it. But Renera says, but you've got a problem. Your hand is a problem. He had spies on me. He's trying to ruin me. So she used it to her advantage too. But she might not be wrong. And I think he believes her. So the next scene is, but go on.
So just the setup to this scene, that exchange between the princess and the king, this part I didn't fully So I'm interested in your guys' opinions, because she says that, the king says, like, everyone is self-interested, and then she says, I will do my duty and wed, but you must do yours as king, implying that she has leverage over him. The king could say at this point, no, I don't. Shut up. Do as you're told.
I think she's appealing to him morally speaking. Like, you've got to cut Otto out. That's the reality right now.
That's
and
why
to do it, that's your duty. Like, he is corrupting you. He's clearly self-interested. That's her argument, if you will. So why should I have to do anything that my station requires when you won't do yours?
Okay, I could see her saying it, but I just don't feel it has the leverage to force Viserys to agree. I guess he agrees with her and he thinks that Otto is an issue, but
the conversation wasn't necessarily about how he has the leverage now to force her to do the marrying. It seems to me that he finally has convinced her that it's her duty, and she understands that at this point, that she needs to do it for the stability of the realm, sort of thing. But how long are you going to keep a hand that is actively screwing us over? Like, it's your duty to get rid of him to stabilize the realm as well.
Yeah, and it's tough to do. This was a hand from his predecessor, Jaehaerys, and he's still convinced he's a noble man, so he's torn with that. But she's right. Like, in this one, she does have to get rid of him, because it all looks like that's what he's trying. Well, that's what he is trying to do. Like, we saw that.
I still think it's, as you said, you pointed out yourself, and I think it's really worth keeping in mind. We were shown that the messenger came from the what was it called again? The white snake,
the white worm.
And they called for Otto to deliver the message to him. I don't think it was his spy necessarily. Seemed like it was someone else's spy who then provided the information to him. Mm-hmm. So if that is the reality, then the show is telling us he wasn't really spying on Renera. He did take advantage of the information. Mm-hmm. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's still validity to the idea that he does think it was wise to tell the king regardless of his own interests. However, it does absolutely benefit him if certain things were to happen as a result.
Sure does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just worth keeping in mind.
Yep. I mean, he could have said nothing, and then maybe gone to Renera and said, I know this, but I'm not going to tell the king.
It's dangerous doing that. Remember when Ned gave Cersei a chance?
Yeah. Poor Ned.
Poor Ned.
Poor Ned lost his head. Which still, it still stings a little bit. Stings to the north too. It does. So we get a great scene between Otto Hightower and King Viserys, and he fires him.
He does.
Sends him home.
And great performances from both of them in this scene as well.
Yeah.
It looked difficult, both difficult, but there was also like some anger under. You can tell Viserys was angry. But you could also tell like Otto was shocked. Like,
yeah. And it's an angle to his character that I think at this point is just confirmed as to the kind of person he is. He's not quite a Tywin or even a Littlefinger or like a Loki with the way that they can speak. He ran out of ideas. He was just like, oh shit, I'm done. Well, yeah, like just and he seems to be the kind of person that will absolutely choose flight out of fight or flight. He'll just be like, I'm out. All right, bye. Don't kill me. just leave me alone. It's unfortunate, but yeah, he really does seem shocked. I think he even has like a delivery of when he's given the full like you're fired sort of thing. He's like, Your Grace. Like he's like
what? But there's something in the scenes that shows that he thinks, well, there might be another chance, but he's leaving his daughter there. Yeah, it's crazy. But he gets fired. Then the final scene humbles young Renera when a maester comes in with a little bottle of something. And he's talking about like, hey, if it's brewed right, it might upset your stomach a little bit. Might do this, but it should do the job. And she's like, what is it? And it's basically moon tea, which is a way of getting rid of. It's like it's the morning after pill of Westeros. It's a little concoction the maesters come up with for royalty. So if they go out and have a little fun, they don't have a little consequence later on. And that's what it was. And so basically, and it's sent by Viserys. Viserys sent him in there, and then he made sure to say so, to say your dad knows. that you got busy.
Yeah.
How it ends. So it's not going to be good. Things are not going to be good. The seeds of war are sown.
So I wasn't sure if the show was trying to depict this as like such a horrible affront to her right to choose and everything like that, when she has been very clear multiple times that she doesn't want to have babies. And so if the show is trying to depict that, this is being forced upon her and she's reluctant now, I'll be like, because did it try and show that she was reluctant? Because she wouldn't be based on everything that they set up.
She was shocked, right? I thought she was shocked.
She was not expecting like that. Oh, what my dad knows that I actually did have sex. What?
And to be fair, Shad, really, unless the base is going to watch it, she can always just toss that out the window. Like,
I know.
So yeah, you know.
I just thought she would have been a bit more like, "Oh, good, thank you."
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that with the way that we know the character, I think she hates the idea of having a kid from what we've seen.
Oh, Marjorie Tyrell drinks her moon tea all the time in the Song of Ice and Fire. She gets busted on it in the books. Grant Maester Pycelle like rats her out, and that causes a big problem. But that I guess wasn't in the show. Don't remember because I haven't rewatched anything from Game of Thrones since the end of season 8.
They ran out of ideas for what they were doing with Marjorie around about season 4 or 5, probably.
They did.
Like, all
right.
To do with it.
We're gonna get to the soups, guys. We got questions.
By the way, I've only got about a half hour before I'm going to have to jump out.
We should be done by then. But yes, I will just go. Got to go, dude. And we got you, man. Thanks for staying up, MauLer. Thanks for being here every week, MauLer and Shad Brooks. I appreciate you guys so much. And
absolutely,
this is tons of fun, man. Tons of fun. All right, we're going to start on, we got one StreamYard's donation for $100. Doesn't say anything. Wow. $100. Sorry, I can't do the applause thing right now. I don't have my thing. But, thank you. BFG 00. BFG 00. We're going to go to the super chat side here. Here we go. Pretty soon, I'm going to have Exoreku here for all this fun stuff. Is Primal on HBO worth it? I've heard good things. I want to watch it with my dad, says Andrew Valdez for $4.99. Absolutely. Highest recommendation, 10 out of 10. Primal. It's a Tartakovsky animated show, about 20 minutes long. There's no dialogue. It's basically a caveman and his dinosaur, and it's freaking awesome. I loved how Kristen Cole played the scene with Renera. He was clearly uncomfortable. He did it, but he wasn't like he could say no. Was there consent? I think there was consent. Bishop Cruz for $5.
He was first reluctant, but I think he has the hots for her, and so he was more reluctant probably about the political implications and stuff. But I would say a bit of encouragement.
If he lost his head as a result, it's on both of them, not just her.
Yep. He was into it. Good egg for $5. George R. Martin. Sorry, I can't finish. Tolkien. I fought in World War I. Hold my beer. Exactly. Mr. Conscientious Objector, which you're free to do, but conscientiously finish your damn book. Okay. Jakula, really, for $20. I was waiting for John Stone to pop some hard wood to clean this movie up. Wow. Okay. Tavers Vivo for $6. Had some bad McDonald's earlier. Sorry to hear that. Is there good McDonald's? And I just had to run downstairs to take a Rings of Power. Anyways, hail the fellowship. Oh,
he had a Ring of Power. Good.
Had a Ring of Power. Yeah, the power ring. Blew the ring. It goes for $20. Thank you for the super sticker, the Loot super sticker. Appreciate it. Not applicable for $2. They made my horse a porker. Wow. Really? I thought, well, I don't know. I can't judge a horse, but Guy Ladriel certainly can. Luis Cuevas for $10 says, I think that Batgirl trailer was made by Corridor Crew. That is correct. That's who it was made by. Thank you. Corridor Crew, if you want to go check it out later. Never watched Batwoman, but watching EFAP's coverage for the first time this weekend. Hilarious. Just finished season 1, episode 11. Wow. Episode 10 and 11. Really virtuous. Laugh my ass off, says IB Doey for $4.99.
Well, glad you enjoy it. More on the way.
Oh my God, your first one is so fucking good.
Classic.
It's classic. It is so good. The first time she oh God, when she
yeah, there's a little PNG that just floats. So awful.
Resef the Cripple for $10. MauLer just got done watching your Stitch and Adam appearance. Man, that brainlet person really doesn't like you and Gary.
No, he hated us. He hasn't even seen any of our videos, so he hates us.
Dude, so this was the guy you were debating, like the
No, he didn't. He just made a video about
okay,
us, we covered it. He was certain, right? So he said that anybody who gives their opinion on how good a TV show is going to be before it's out cannot be trusted, because it's like you have no integrity. You're an awful person. You should have to wait for it to come out first. So echoing a bit there, but anyway, and then he was like, because these videos that they're all making, they're just saying, "Oh, it's gonna be bad. Oh, woke, it's gonna be bad." And I was just like, has he seen any of these videos? Does he know what's in them? And it's just like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't know about all the commentary from directors, producers, writers, from Amazon, from their goals in creating the show. All the people who've seen episodes early and describe what's in them, the goals of the writers, what they value, what they think of Tolkien's work, what their intentions are, what messaging they want to put into this show as a result of dealing with moving Tolkien to a modern era. The fact that they'll talk forever about what their goals are that don't involve storytelling first. They involve a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, clips, promotional material, trailers. What are you talking about? Of course we can describe what we think is going to be good. But then I was like, the thing that he really doesn't know is that there are insiders that have given information on what to expect from the later episodes, later plot lines that you guys have some awareness of. So I was just like, he has no clue what they're in. All he had to do was click the video. He could have heard about all this stuff. He thinks that all you guys have done is go, don't watch this show. It's going to be bad, I'm pretty sure, because apparently they have black people in it. Like, he actually believes that's what these videos are. And I was just like, just watch them. They're right there.
Yeah, I mean, what are the purpose of trailers then? Trailers are literally supposed to give an indication of a show's quality, hopefully to draw people in, but you can judge what, or predict the quality of a movie based on what the trailer shows quite clearly. That's the purpose of it.
And then I was thinking to myself, he's telling everybody you shouldn't listen to them. They have no integrity if they judge a thing without having watched it. I was like, who's doing that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Womp,
Weird.
Womp.
Weird. Smaller. I read that one. Good evening, gentlemen. I have to say that I am really enjoying the series House of the Dragon. I agree with you that it is much better than Lord of the Rings, says Michael Smith for $4.99. Thank you. I agree with you, Michael. I think we all do.
With how bad Rings of Power is, right? A 4 out of 10 is still way better than Rings of Power. like a 2 out of 10 is twice the quality than a 1 out of 10. So a 4 out of 10 by that logic is 4 times better. That's a big difference. And a 4 out of 10 is crap. So, you don't have to do much to be able to be orders of magnitude better than Rings of Power.
Man, everything relies on the change of actors in 2 episodes.
That'll be interesting.
The series hinges on it.
We'll have to see how it goes. Yeah, because for now, I'm not spotting many, if any, holes at all. There's some stretches, we got plot armors and stuff, but not a huge amount of obvious flaws to me in terms of storytelling.
I was trying to come into this episode critically, and I didn't see huge amounts because, if you're trying to find contradictions in motivations where you might say you shouldn't have done this, but the problem is you can find motivations for why they do it and they don't spell it out. And so one of the criticisms I think I was able to find is that they had a metal cast iron railing in the hidden passageway that might not fit with their technology level. That's about as bottom of the barrel I have to dig to find something that I might be able to say this is a valid criticism.
0 out of 10.
Yes.
0 out of 10. Damn it. Thanks for the review. Says Good Egg for $10. Thanks for being here. Thanks for donating $10. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to what Nerdrotics are here. The Nerdrotics. I know it's late, but thanks for being here. And we appreciate it. I hope you like these. Hope you like these because it's nice. It's actually nice. I look forward to watching the show with MauLer. I look forward to hanging out with both of you guys and all of you out there and doing what I started this channel to do. This is what I started this channel to do.
Just to be a nerd, really.
Yep. All right. So we mentioned Ryan earlier, baby boy, little baby boy Ryan Kinnell, so popular around the internet. Met him at a meetup at San Diego Comic-Con 2019. Mentioned him that like, hey, you might be pretty good at this YouTube thing. So did Jeremy. Mentioned it to him as well at the same meeting, and I think he's done pretty well. But he's made some waves. He's made some waves, apparently. So this is from Shad was with us. We were with Melanie Mack. She did great. Disparu did great. My co-host there, and this is shoot, hang on. I didn't unclick the box. My bad. I'm just never going to remember that. So let's do it. Okay. So it doesn't echo. Here we go. This is what, by the way, Emma DRC is Renera Targaryen. So this is a Emma DRC stan, an actor we have not seen yet, but we're speculating might not be as good as Emily Alcock. Know the end. You don't have to say what the end is. Do you think HBO will do that ending?
I mean, I think they're just gonna go all out. I really do.
Okay.
Now, I am worried about this show in 1 or 2 episodes. If I like it after episode 5 or 6, whenever they do the cast change, I think I'll like it probably till the end.
Emma DRC is not.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So they are changing, and I think that Renera has been played. I think that the chick Millie Alcock, I think is her name, stands out in my head for some reason. I actually think she's done a good job with Renera.
She has.
And they're going to change that when they do the time jump, and it's going to be changed into some non-binary chick. Or not non-binary chick. If you're non-binary, you right. Be a fucking chick, right? But so some non-binary person.
Sorry.
It's
going to be difficult. Non-binary's made up anyway. So
I know.
So,
some non-binary person. And women. I don't know if it's going to be the same. I don't know if it's going to get the same vibe. I hope it does. But if I can make it past that and still like the show, I think I'll like it to the end.
Well, except they don't look anything like each other, like at all. Their facial structure. Now, Renera,
she got hit with a fucking horse or something in between.
Well, she's supposed to be a little frumpy later on. That they mentioned that in the book. So
imagine being cast, be like, hey, you're supposed to like very
here's your
like
character
description. Like you'll grow up to be hot now, but when you're old, you look like shit. So we're casting you.
I don't know what's controversial in anything we said right now.
This joke's been made again and again about like loads of male castings, right? Whereas like the Penguin in Batman Returns, like they didn't hire Danny DeVito because he's so handsome. Okay, like this applies to a lot of roles, and I think it is funny to envision that. Like I'm gonna go try out for acting today. It's like what? It's like I'm playing ugly man in the background. Hopefully I'll nail it.
Hey, but some people can ride that gravy train. Look at all the roles that Rebel Wilson got before she lost weight. I mean, like sometimes you just have characters that need
like fat people is a casting thing. Like you need fat roles, like there's fat characters. This is part of like what life they live or characteristics about them. You need to hire people who are big. So if that's offensive, I mean, it's just going to be difficult to do casting at this point. Like
it's going to be offensive. It's going to be difficult. So this is a depiction of Renera, older, where you could tell like she was like much prettier when she was younger, and like it's not terrible, but she puts on weight because of the kids, right? And yeah, it's just the way it happens. So like the whole point is like she used to be the realm's delight and ends up kind of not being the realm's delight. And they show it physically too, you know.
And if anything, what I found interesting, I did notice this. The Queen, she was pregnant last episode. In this episode, like possible because she didn't look like she was ever pregnant. And if anything, it would have made a bit of sense to, I don't know, try and make her look a bit more aged after having 2 children. And, you know, this is 4 years on, because that would have made it feel a bit more authentic and real if they did that. And so if anything, they're not doing it enough in the TV show at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have a tendency to make people a lot prettier than they are in the books. You know, Tyrion not missing his nose. And everybody's younger, right? Jon Snow is like super young in the beginning, and we don't have like a lot of time passed. So he's like, what, 15, 16, 17, 18, you know, in the show. Obviously, he's in his 20s. People are in their 30s when they're supposed to be in their 20s. It's just to make it. But like for this one, yeah, they definitely cast somebody to be frumpy. They did. I stand by my statement. Non-binary actors are stealing roles from women. It's just saying so. I'm just going by their rules. I'm going by their rules, not my rules. These are their rules.
That same account, by the way, then called all of you grown-ass, stinky, balding fat men. It's like, wow, so you've just completely undone any moral indignation you could possibly have. You're done. Like, first of all, why is making fun of guys for balding is just mean? Like, what are you supposed to do about that? Like, oh, I guess I'll just change my genetic code. Like,
I don't know. Like, I thought Hollywood said I'm allowed to go up and slap people for making fun of bald people. I thought that was the new.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, how dare you say that a woman may be hired to look like ugly in relation to how a character looks? You ugly people. It's like, oh, okay. Like, feel like all the wind's out of your sail now.
Standard. Shout out to Ryan, by the way. Made a great point there, I think. Good evening, gentlemen. I read that one. You could sustain the abuse angle if Renera goes to Kristen because she feels rejected and insecure, but that's not what they showed me, in my opinion. No, Amish Verma for $5. That's not what they showed. That's clearly she was like riled up. And she needed,
she was in the mood and wanted satisfaction.
Alvaro Travares for 10 Brazilian pesos. BRLS, or is it something else? I'll just say Martian pesos. Someone please show Gary that Elden Ring mod that makes Sauron the final boss. It looks so sick. Is that true?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I watched my friends play Elden Ring, and that's about as far as I'll probably get.
That's already too far. Okay,
way too far. I'm not gonna get that far. I think I'm gonna get to a final boss in a game. When I eventually start The Witcher, that's gonna be like a 3-year journey. Okay, but you know, I'm gonna finish the game. It's gonna be a 3-year journey because I'm not the kind, like, I like video games. I do once in a while, like every decade or so, I'll jump into one that I really like. Diablo 2 was like, I was obsessed with it. It was great. Diablo 2, and Red Dead Redemption, and Ultimate Alliance. That one was fun too.
Hey.
Love that game.
What'd you play that on?
I played it on a PS2, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
Is that PS2?
Yeah.
Whatever my son's got. The one I played, Rock Band and Guitar Hero on. Those 2 games I love too. They were great.
I've still got Guitar Hero. I've got a PS3 just to play that.
No, we talked about it, and I'm getting it back. Like, I'm gonna get a PS2, and we're gonna set it up in my little game room downstairs, and I'm gonna play that again. I miss it.
That's what sucks, man. You can't stream it because of copyright. But that's like the whole.
All right. That's probably what killed it.
A lot of things killed it. Guitar Hero is a dead IP now. Sad face.
It is. Viserys is a good king, but he's just human. He's very conflicted, very brilliant, written character. Heavy the head that wears the crown. That is exactly what his character is. The Clever Fox for $10. You are not wrong. $10 more. He says the show is really growing on me. I really did not like Renera at first, but she's growing on me. Viserys is great king and character, and Patty is absolutely killing it Everyone is killing it so far.
Yeah,
I agree.
I saw this meme that was like, Matt Smith entered into hospital for his back breaking from carrying the show, and I was like, to be fair, Patty's doing it just fine on his own. Like, you wouldn't need Matt Smith necessarily, but I'm happy to have the both of them.
Have both. Why not both?
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Smith ultimately, I think when all things said or done, will be the most popular character, but people are going to look fondly back on Patty. They're going to look very fondly back on Patty. Like, this is not how we know Patty Constantine. Sorry.
No.
I know a very different one from Edgar Wright films and stuff. So
yeah. That's right. I wasn't sure about the casting, but at this point, go right ahead with it. You do whatever you want.
And Tim Dollar-Eyed says just nothing for $10. Thank you very much. I appreciate the donation, Tim. Thanks for being here. Buford T Justice for $49.99. I'm not watching this shite. Never forget how the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones crap all over fans, but I love you guys. Gary, do you think Brie Larson would make a good Harfoot, or is that too method? I think she would make an excellent Harfoot. I think her feet already match the role, and she would leave anybody behind. That might be a little on the nose, but sometimes on the nose is okay. Fucking leave people behind. Then they do a ceremony about it.
It's just we're so nice because we carry the people on in our hearts and minds that we literally left for dead. It's like, you guys are awful.
Dicks.
Dicks.
Unbelievable.
So I watched it last week, right? And when I watched in the theater, I had three hours on the road to think about it. Like, I was like just going back and forth in my brain about it. Had a lot of time to think about it. This one was, I watched it, I went live in 10 minutes. So I didn't have time to process like this stupid, all the stupid. I'm like writing notes as fast as I can. I can't, Shad probably writes like a human. I write like Helen Keller. So
there's a reason why I try and type my notes.
I was gonna say, I type my notes. I ain't write them.
You type them? Nah, I'm old school. I'm gonna put it on the paper.
I'm a faster typer than I am a writer at this point.
My last notes I put on some comic book backing boards. It really worked out. So, yes, this is how I do a video. There's my script. Good luck deciphering that. It's like cuneiform on clay tablets, except it's retardiform. And yeah, I didn't like. There's so much I didn't like. So much stupid. I can't fit it all in my videos. I just told MauLer I'm gonna have to do a video. Like when I'm done with the season of all the stupid shit I missed, like that, I just thought it's not consequential enough to talk about in a video, but there is so much. It really is. I don't know if either of you have watched Star Trek Discovery, which was the dumbest show. Picard rivals it, but the Star Trek that's been coming out is this dumb. Like, this is why Star Trek fans are mad. So if you don't know why Star Trek fans are mad now, this is why. If you've seen Rings of Power, that it's exact same reason.
And on Rings of Power, there's actually 2 massive, like stupid things that I didn't get to put in my review, but they're big. The first one is spoilers for Rings of Power episode 3, guys. But this is just astoundingly dumb, and you shouldn't worry because it's a crap show anyway. So the mark of Sauron in the show is it's a map now, right? And hang on. It's a map to where Sauron is secretly, assembling his forces, right? And so why would he then brand the dead body of an elf that was hunting him with the map that leads people to his location? Why would he actively try and share it with his enemies if it's a map to where he's doing?
Hey, Shad, you know what's funnier? Imagine Sauron's like, oh, I know. I'm going to bait them into my trap. I'll put it on the map and I'll pretend as though I don't want them to find it. Drop it on the body. This is all going to be great. 100,000 years later or whatever. He's like, are they seriously still not here?
They haven't got it. This is the second criticism I have. It's like, hang on. So Sauron has been using this mark to let orcs know where to assemble. Okay. And you're telling me like, unintelligent orcs have been figuring this out just by glancing at it, and Galadriel, who's had it for how many thousands of years, hasn't figured it out, and orcs have been figuring out just like they must know by looking, and she can't.
It's actually painful when they revealed it. I was like, no, that's so stupid.
I lost it. There are so many layers of stupid. I didn't even get to uncover all the stupid, and those are two big ones.
Dude, this is the thing. Once all the episodes are out, if you rewatch the show, I guarantee you'll find even more flaws because you'll retroactively discover all the writing problems.
No, so I'll finish my review and then I'll go watch other people's review, and I'm like, I totally missed that. Oh shit. Or I love the exact copy of the mark that was on the spies. The spies little with all with that little piece of paper that's in the black speech that's of Mordor. Did he copy that? He copied it perfectly. He also copied the mark perfectly from Galadriel's little piece of paper parchment. And the commander of the Northern armies never looked at a map before, ever, not once.
What's hilarious about this, right? As soon as they did a close up on this mark on the side, like my very first impression didn't even take half a moment to realize those are mountains. Like my first proper look at it, my instant thing, Galadriel, several thousand years, guys. You couldn't figure it
and
out.
I love how they show the flamey part to show us that this is the bad guy's place.
How else would you understand it, Gary? Come on. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets there and an orc is like, "You have discovered us, Galadriel, with your intelligence. Good job."
And I did mention this in my review, but I'll add it in there as well, because the mark was put on her brother's dead body. That gives us a time frame. So Sauron has been assembling in the Southland for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And you're telling me the orcs are only just now doing something? No, the Southlands should be Mount Doom by this point.
They're
just been at it that long.
Just hanging around, knitting. Just are we going to do it? And Sauron's like, look, I got this all planned out. It's going to take a while.
Barad-dûr it's constructed at this point. If we're at the end, if we're at the end of Numenor, we're approaching the end of the Second Age, then that it should be built. So
and it's literally in the place where the elves have had a military occupation looking for any bad things.
I know. So and they're screwing so many things up. Like the Numenorians have relations. It's fuzzy. They have a pact with Gil-galad. Right. So they contact Gil-galad. So they're fine with that elf in the lore. They're fine with Gil-galad. And then they make contact with men. And at first it's really nice. They're like, hey, other men, cool, high five. And then they start getting a little we're better than you. You need to pay tribute to us now. And things go south, but they're not even talking. So I guess Numenorian's an isolationist island at this point. The time is so fucked up. It is baffling. It's I don't know. That's why I mentioned in my review. I don't who's this show for, because the normies are going to be fucking lost, and the people who even have read the Silmarillion once, or just are somewhat aware of Numenor, they found it other places. They're going to be this is just little crumbs. That's all we're getting is crumbs, and we're wasting all this time with Halbrand. Oh, I want to work in a forge. That's really subtle. Really subtle. Jeez, it's terrible. But we got to get back to this. Does the scene between Sir Criston make him a literal king maker? Shout out to my boy Earl Richard Neville of Warwick, the original kingmaker. Sir Criston Cole is nicknamed the Kingmaker, but I won't tell you why. It's not that though. It's not the. It's not the mounting of Renera. That might have something to do with it later, but Renera is only 32 when dance starts. So yeah, she's only 32 of a series. He reigns until he's 52, 53. Andrew McCarthy or maybe McCarthy. Sorry, no, it's McCarty for $4.99. Gary MauLer. I can carry your burden of rings of power, but I can't carry you. Come on. No, you probably have a hard time carrying both of us. Just saying. Yeah, one's an eldritch god with lots of tentacles, and I'm a full-grown man. Although X-Ray Girl did pick me up in Vegas, because she's a giant. She's she's 6'8", but she bear hugged me and lifted me off the ground. I'm that is the first woman that lifted me off the ground since my mother. Okay.
Actually 6'8".
No, she's not 6'8". She's like 5'9". She's like super. She's
Oh,
like,
okay. For a second, I was like, oh my
I
god.
like to joke about it. She's taller than you think. You see, don't want to disparage all Asian women, but you don't think they're all like, almost 5'10", but she is, or maybe she is 5'10". Hail Gary, Shadow MauLer. Is it good to see you guys? It's good to see you guys smiling and happy. This review is a good end to a bad week for me. Hopefully, House of the D stays good. We agree. Basil 578. Sorry you had a hard week, and hope this helps a little bit. So
yeah, man, it's the way it goes. You get She-Hulk, Rings of Power, then House of Dragon. So it's like, but yeah, obviously, hope you're having a better time now. Super chatted.
How you doing, MauLer? You okay?
I should probably jump out at this point.
All right.
Obviously, I'd like to stay, but I got other arrangements. I'm all over the place. But yeah, it's been fun. It's always fun.
Tons of fun. Thanks for joining us. Plug whatever you like. I know you have an amazing video.
Yeah, I mean, if they haven't seen it, I've been talking about Doctor Strange for 6 hours. If it's not even just a stream, it's a video. Fully edited. Can you believe it? Who knows if anyone can survive the gauntlet that is the entire thing. Also, the plushies are still active for another couple days, still around. But yeah, it's good times, gents, and we shall reconvene soon enough. Gary, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, on Tuesday.
Alrighty. Have a good night, everybody. See you, chat. Toodle pip. Cheerio.
See ya.
Toodle pip.
Toodle pip.
I don't even know what that is.
He suddenly becomes real British all of a sudden. Toodle pip and cheerio.
God save the queen. Or king now. You got to say king now, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Not sure. How you doing, Shad? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna
go for a little bit longer here. We got some soups to get to. Eric Powell. I read that one. The Grizzly for $5. Also, how long before those idiot showrunners bring up January 6th? I don't know if they maybe in the post interviews.
I wouldn't put anything past them with what they've tried to, force in the connections.
They tried to force it in today. Today, it was it still is for 15 or 17 more minutes, the anniversary of 9/11 here. They're trying to force it into that. It's just, 9/11 was bad. I remember it. I'll never forget that day. America changed. It's changed twice. My country, our world has changed twice in my lifetime, like significantly. That was one of those days where things were just not the same afterwards. And COVID. Finished up the Lord of the Rings books. Man, Rings of Power is a joke, says Andrew McCarthy for $1.99. It is. And at least we can joke about it, right? Mm-hmm. The funnier thing is Amazon trying to
and it's been extreme that I don't know, I just get the feeling that there's even more attempted damage control of this than a lot of other properties, where it's like, because your video review, you showed a lot of articles, saying it's the racist feds and all that stuff. Seems like there's more of it this time around. They're so desperate.
It really is. So when I was doing the research for that, I wanted to let it ride for a couple days, right? So Garrett and I was like, maybe I'll make a separate video. No, let's just put it in on this one. And I shared them all in our Discord, and I think I got up to 12 where I'm like, Garrett, I could go on for 4 more Google search pages. I could just click 4 more times. There'll be 4 full lines of separate articles that say the same thing. I counted 36 when I stopped.
Gosh.
36 articles saying the same thing. So yeah, there's a lot of control. Amazon has a ton of, obviously they have a ton of control. Mm-hmm. But man, once it was like, it was like a fishing lure for them, right? They needed this because they're losing this battle so badly, and it didn't work. And that's what I asked. Like, you're going to keep this up for 6 weeks? Are you going to really keep up that we're all fucking racist for 6 weeks? No, you know.
And it's such bullcrap. Like, I will challenge them to try and find a single, say, Rings of Power review here on YouTube that has over 1,000 views, in which their primary criticism of the show is the diversity casting. Find me a single review that has that, like, even just more than 1,000 views. And you won't. Like every review that I'm seeing, yes, it's people loving it, but if you look at the critical reviews, it's because it's a freaking crap show. Like, I haven't seen anyone with any level of influence or prominence or anything saying it's crap because of the casting. No, this show is just awful.
No, and they haven't provided a single receipt, and they can't, or they would.
Oh yeah, if they had the receipts, they would be throwing them everywhere. They would be just jerking themselves off over it because that's what they want. Like, and they don't have it.
They don't. They want there to be, though. They really do. That's the sad thing, is they are dying for that.
They actually want the world to be more racist because it's an excuse for them to hide their own inadequacies, seen as virtuous, because they don't have the capacity or ability to gain accolades by merit. They need to bad man bad, you know.
And I don't have to work on any of my problems if I'm always pointing out the bad man.
Yep.
Dirt bike for $49.99. Thank you. Galadriel is a strong woman who don't need no mans, but a horse will do just fine. A scene should do one or two things: reveal something about the character or move the story forward. Hopefully we get both things. Rangs has so many scenes that do neither. Hail, I effing love you guys, and we love you too. Hail to you. Thank you for the $49.99. And that's your basic criticism: is this story is not progressing, it's not entertaining, there's no likable characters because of the poor writing. That's why the show's bad. That's why.
Yeah. And he's absolutely right. Not only are there scenes that do nothing, these scenes that do nothing also make the characters look worse or dumb or everything. So they literally make the show worse. Removing certain scenes would improve the show. And again, because nothing's achieved and they don't progress story, plot, and everything. The whole escape attempt with Discount Legolas, they achieved nothing. Like they could have had them, they're caught, they're brought to the thing, Goblin comes out, chops off the heads and saying, you're going to see our leader, and would be in this exact same spot. You know, instead we got a really goofy CGI pug.
Benjicott Blackwood, the Bloody Ben. So was that him? Because I always thought he was a son of a lord who died, but that might have been him. I can't quite remember. But that Blackwood in the beginning, loved the kid, and especially it makes it so much better that was a Bracken and not a Baratheon, because I thought it looked like a Baratheon to me, and I thought, is that Boris's heir, like, who comes in later? But if it's a Bracken, then I am totally good with it. That's super cool. That's a deep cut from the book that I like. So Night King 01 for $10. You hit a nerve. Felt so bad for the actor that played Sir Barristan. He begged them to change it, and he read the books and was confused. Also, Jamie's actor got into fights with D&D every season after 4. Yep. Yeah. The actor Barristan was a fan of the books and was just really upset that they did his character like that. And D&D were just they became aloof dicks. Like at first they were like humbled, you know, they fought for the series, they did a good job, but they like this shit went to their heads. Plus, it doesn't help. One of the D's is the son of a super, super rich investment banker. So he was like already like in it. Like this wasn't like something he had to work that hard at. And by all accounts, these guys weren't showing up on the sets or anything.
Really?
Towards the end. And they weren't, like, HBO was running that show as best they could while these guys were off making deals to go, with Netflix. They got, they never made a thing for Netflix. I think they are making something, not sure, but they got paid $25 million 3 years ago, and they haven't made anything. Kind of like Jar Jar Abrams got like $500 million, made next to nothing. Daniel Todd for $10. I like dragons a lot, but I think they use them too much in TV and movies. I hope the Jon Snow sequel that the snow more giants and more mythological creatures. That's what I want in my fantasy as well. I agree with that.
I love dragons. I have a shirt, what about dragons? Because they're kind of like the thing about, one of the defining things of fantasy. But I actually do agree, especially when they're pushed too far, everything. And one of the ways that I actually want to put dragons in the book I'm currently writing is to bring them back to almost the medieval, because in medieval artwork where you see dragons depicted, they're just beasts that knights would skewer on their horse and everything. They're about the size of a lion or even small elephant at times, something a bit more manageable, not these insane world-breaking things. What if they were just they were dangerous, but you get a good knight on a horse with a lance and he could take them on, and there's that heroic thing of a knight slaying a dragon,
like a slightly more like the most dangerous beast.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that idea. No,
I love that.
Oh, go on.
Oh, well, that's one of the ways I'll be integrating that dragons into my book. They won't appear for like a lot of novels, but it's just the long-term planning and the world building of how they fit in.
I love giants. Okay. There's tons of them in mythology. There's tons of them in the Bible. Well, not tons, but there's some in the Bible. There's ancient accounts that, can't be verified, of course. It could be just myth, legend, or I don't know, but I love them. I love the idea of them. And I think they're just not, I love how Game of Thrones did them in, I thought that was a really good presentation of them. So I'd sure like to see that more. Other mythical creatures, I would love to see more. I am right there with you. Because I went back to reading Elric or listening. I'm listening to it on my audiobook because Garrett said he started it. So I'm like, I'll go back and listen to it. I love Elric and the stuff that's in that, but I miss, I'm just getting more into that. Conan. I still have to get through my Conan comics. I have full run of everything now. Marvel did. The magazines are the best, by Roy Thomas. But yeah, I would love deep cut fantasy. I would love that. I mean, I like right now House of the Dragon is the best we're gonna get. But just fantasy is a tough genre to sell. Especially now.
So I haven't even watched the new Willow trailer because this is the one that will be coming out soon, and I did a review of the first trailer. I do not have high hopes. I loved the film Willow so much, and they cannot just ruin it again. I hope they won't, of course, and I'll love it if they're good. But the signs, it looks so cheap.
I'm a big fan of Legend. I know that people.
Yeah.
I freaking love it, man. I love that movie so much. I think it's just, it's little thin on the story. I understand, but it's got some like really effing cool fantasy elements that we haven't seen since. So, hey Shad, sorry you had to see the booby this episode, but really, I love the series taking charge of things. Always remember 9/11. Says Tenran Helen for $5.
Well, hey, I'm not against boobs. It's the way that they're integrated. Okay, it's all about execution.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I'm a married man. What do you think my opinion is?
Yeah. I can't believe you two iconic fantasy. I can't believe you have two iconic fantasy series that both tend to achieve their diversity quotas for the most part, but one actually respects the lore and canon, and the other chats on it. Yeah, that's a great Kate J for $9.99. Brilliant point. One like chit chats about it once in a while, and the other one is just doing what the book says. That's all it's doing, and improving on it. Improving on it, which is crazy. So random nerd question for the group, but mostly for Shad. Given his weapon knowledge, do you think having a Valerian sword would have given Rhaegar the edge he needed against Robert to win? Asked Dylan Lindsay for $10.
Okay, context: Rhaegar against Robert. Which
Rhaegar Targaryen was killed by Robert in Robert's rebellion. They had a fight at the Ruby Ford. It became the Ruby Ford because Robert put a warhammer in his chest, and the rubies came out, and people were picking him out of the river. So that was the battle during Robert's rebellion. He was the son and heir of the Mad King of Westeros. He supposedly kidnapped Lyanna Stark and is Jon Snow's daddy.
In terms of Valyrian steel, I like the context that I understand it is that basically it's really, really tough. I don't think it's indestructible, but it's close to that, and it holds its edge, and you don't need to sharpen it. And so, under those properties, it would function like a super sharp sword if you can get it super sharp. But it shouldn't have magical properties. It shouldn't be able to chop through steel or anything like that. And so, it wouldn't necessarily give someone an indomitable edge. It just means that they can rely that it won't break and that the sword will be really, really sharp. And so, like chopping someone in half, like you saw Damon, do. It's like I'm fully on board. A sword sharp enough can absolutely do that. But in terms of chopping through steel, that's when I'd be like, shouldn't do that, or unless it has magical properties that I haven't heard. Yeah.
There is it's believed that there are magical properties that go into the forging of dragon steel or the Valyrian sword. I don't think it would have given him the upper hand because he was fighting like Rhaegar was a good warrior, but he was never into it. Like he wasn't into battle. He did it because it was his duty and he made sure he was as good as possible. Robert loved to fight. Absolutely loved to fight. He lived to effing fight. He had a giant freaking Warhammer and he was a giant Baratheon. And the thing that doesn't get brought up enough is the Baratheons. The reason they exist is because of the Targaryens. They were given Storm's End. In the first Baratheon, they have a drop of dragon's blood was the first hand of the king to Aegon the Conqueror. But Robert was just big. I think Robert was going to beat him anyway because he thought he was fighting for the love of his life who got kidnapped and raped, which didn't necessarily happen, but that's what he thought, perception. I don't think Rhaegar stood a chance. Never did. Oh my goodness, the incest in this show. I know it's Targaryen thing, but on mainstream TV, wow, and disgusting. So right about the tension. Sorry for caps. It's okay, Matt F. It's Game of Thrones, and it's Targaryens, and they are they are into the incest. That's part 3 of 3. I don't know where the part 1 is. Viserys called Otto out for being a rat early in the episode. The later conveniently forgot and decided that he was a loyal servant, only for Renera to remind him that Otto was a rat. I think that's one way you could look at it, but I think Viserys doesn't like rush to making big decisions. I think we've established that. Like he wavers. Matt L.
Yeah, and I think also I feel he was aware of Otto's things, but he only gets pushed to that point because now it's threatening something that he is kind of determined to be loyal to his daughter, almost to save face. I've declared her my heir, and you guys doubted me. No, she is my heir. I'm remaining true. And then when Otto comes with this, that potentially would undermine all of that. It seems like he reacts very strongly to defend, double down the position that he originally had, even though he's doubting. I completely agree with you on the saving face part. Well said. See, this is why I love talking to MauLer and Chad because like they're catching things I don't. I mean, that's why I like this. So we got a 3-part super chat here from Dragonsworth, $20. I think $60 total. Thank you, Dragonsworth. Part 1. Hail Gary. Hail the Eldrick MauLer. Why do all these hacks get to make these stupid shows, movies? There are so few IPs I would love to see on screen, just not by these hacks. I agree. I don't claim to be anything special at writing or directing or producing, but I can still do a better job than these bloody desecrations on half of the budget just because I love the source material. On the other hand, your reviews of House of the Dragon makes me interested in checking it out for myself. And then I gotta say Taishar Shadiversity. Taishar Monethrin. Taishar. Back to you. It's from Wheel of Time. Love it.
There you go. I figured I was like, I don't know that. Maybe I need to know it though. If Shad likes it so much.
The books are so good, man. Death is lighter than a feather, duty heavier than a mountain.
Ooh, I like that.
Like man, there is such great lines in this about masculinity and all these things. And there's like just an example, right? There's this awesome character, Lan, and one of the lines from the book is because Lan almost teaches a lot of the protagonist male characters how to be men. And one of his lines is like, "There is one rule for being a man above all else. Whatever you face in life, do it on your feet," right? And so it's just a powerful line. That character who said that, guess what they did to him in the show? One of his fellow warders dies. He falls to his knees, cries, and rends his shirt. And this is like one of the most stoic characters in the book. And it was like the biggest betrayal of that character. Oh, I couldn't stand it. And literally he says, never fall on your knees in the books. And in the show, they have him fall on his knees. It's like, oh, there are your testicles. I'll take those. Men aren't allowed those in this show. It's just, it's painful.
I'm sorry. Season 2's coming out. It's eventually. Oh no.
Well, I'll be there because I always stay on.
Be there. Call it out every time. I saw someone on Twitter saying again. I mean, like, I understand if you're not in the nerd world. If it's a legit question, because like, listen, as this show proved when Damon read the letter from Viserys, the voice we hear in our head, especially on Twitter, is not necessarily the voice all the time that we're hearing. I learned this in marriage counseling. You got your voice in your head for somebody, and then you got the real voice. You got to remember to decide between the two. That's why you don't text argue. Okay. Just don't text argue. It could be go make me a sandwich and you're being funny, and it could be taken wrong, something like that. But I think that somebody brought up like, hey, why do you watch these shows? Why do you give Disney Plus money? For one, I don't give Disney Plus money. I would argue, like, same what we said about that kid criticizing. Watch our videos, decide for yourself. But we state the reasons why we don't like these shows. I provide lots of evidence why I think they might be bad before they come out. Plus, based on just the lived experience of going through Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and everything I love turning to shit. But yeah, before you like go out and ask that question and say like we're supporting Disney, and you know what? If somebody does, so fucking what? It is a net negative for the company if you're out there and be honest and rip on their shit.
Like I feel we could almost guarantee our single additional watch to review a bad piece of media causes vastly more people not to watch it who would have if they didn't get the review and were told how utterly atrocious it is. All right. And so the idea that we're supporting it by reviewing it is nonsense. I'm sorry. It's like, yeah.
Bradman for $9.99 says, I still think the cringe director interviews are simply to deflect any possible SJW attacks. That could be a good point. I don't know about that, but they could do that for the show not going woke, while the actual focus on the show is bringing back actual fans. An argument can be made that they're trying if you don't watch those interviews. Okay. I just think too many in Hollywood believe lockstep with these psychopaths. And I think they always have. They've just been better about shutting up about it. You can have your ideas. I'm not afraid of ideas. I'm not afraid of their ideas. But when I'm trying to enjoy entertainment, I don't want to hear that a show that I couldn't tell was directed by a man or a woman, which is exactly what we want. That's called equality. A woman had to remind me that it was shown from the female perspective. Well, then I didn't notice the difference. And I'm sure there is one, but I didn't notice it in this TV show because ultimately that woman director was controlled by a man named Ryan Condell. So like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just bullshit. Gary, can you wait for Damon versus Eamon? Waylon, I'm just gonna say Waylon. I can't pronounce your last name. Sorry, I don't want to jack it up for $1.99. I can. It'll probably be great, but I need to wait for that one because it needs build up. But it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. Maseri egged Damon on in the Air for a Day speech. So I'm guessing the show she has always been Otto's spy. Ooh, that's a good point. Dakota Stanton. But it wouldn't line up with what comes up later unless they change that. Unless she was always playing both sides, which would make sense for a mistress of whispers. That's a good point. It's a good point. Where was I? So Ruin of House Roundhead for $9.99. I'm very impressed with this show. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. Same here, buddy. Especially compared to Rings of Power. Gary, can you do an angry Galadriel face? I mean, she's like, maybe if I'm next time I'm in the bathroom, I don't know. But thanks. Night King 01 for $5. Is it me or is some of the plot points were repeated from episode 1? Damon does something wrong, gets banished. Viserys tells Renera about the Song of Ice and Fire. A little bit, but they're in the books. These are actually like everything that happened is in the book. Like almost, I can't think of anything they changed. Well, no, there was one thing they changed, but I can't say because it'll ruin something. But no, and it doesn't have to. Like, it's never had to be 1-to-1 to a book. Our critics, that's like, it just has to be in the spirit. Like, this is
true to the spirit.
Like, Taylor Ramirez for $5. Don't know if this has been asked, but are you guys excited for the 10-hour Rings of Power episode? Yes. Loved seeing you on Stitch, not Snitch. Sorry. Snitches end up in ditches, baby. Stitch doesn't though. And Adam MauLer, and I'm sure Taylor, he had a good time. He told me. I'm going to probably watch it as I go to sleep tonight. The Grizzly for $20. The show writing doesn't matter. It's about the political message to influence the public. It's co-opted propaganda. That's all Hollywood and media are. It's legacy entertainment that will be passed up as games take over. Games will take over. I think that's where fantasy will go. I think that's where it will thrive. It will thrive in novels still, because that's the one thing that actually can't be gatekept. The publishers can try all they want, but nothing can stop. It's going to stop Shad from writing his novels. He's got his channel where he can push his great novels, and that's what this is about. That's what will eventually keep everything even, right? So I think fantasy, and that's where like fantasy will thrive in games and in novels. And it might force me, like, once it's completely gone from television, that might have to force me to play games, because like the best fantasy storytelling might be like The Witcher 3 and Elden Ring or whatever. You know? Hey Shad, what would you hold if an episode sucked? A wiffle ball bat?
I think it's obvious. If an episode was like genuine dog crap, I would have to be holding nunchucks at the beginning of the next episode.
Okay. We got 2 more here, and then we're out of here. Night King 01 for $5. I wonder if Shad cringed a bit when he used Blackfire as a cane and kept planting it into the ground. I must correct. It's Constantine, or it's Constantine. Is it Constantine or Constantine? He wants to know.
I don't know. Well, Constantine is a character and person from,
it's
history.
Constantine, not Constantine.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. Blackfire, yeah.
But in terms of that, actually, I liked it. One, the sword was in the sheath, so it wouldn't damage the sword, and it conveyed that Viserys was still sick, and so he was actually using the sword to kind of rest on as a cane instead of holding it with strength. So I did notice it, and that I actually thought was a good choice on their behalf.
Belief Hole podcast for $50. Love you guys. Any chance of a critical review of the upcoming destruction of Quantum Leap? It's been a campy show, but had lingering message of hope and solid moral fortitude that's now being sacrificed for social messaging. So stay freaking awesome. I won't be, but I know some people will be, and I will support.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll have the time for that one, but I know Disparu has said that he's got his eye on Quantum Leap.
Yeah, Disparu will destroy it. Like, he will absolutely destroy it, and I fully support his utter destruction of it. Hail Disparu.
Yeah, but the ones that I definitely won't miss, Willow. I cannot miss Willow. That's a big one for me because I loved the film so much, and of course Wheel of Time. When that comes out, Crusade.
I've got my Marvel stuff is getting backlogged because of House of the Dragon, and I'm fine with that. And Rings of Power. D23 laid this big egg over the weekend, and so I've got a Marvel movie, Marvel video probably coming in the next week or so. And then of course I'll, when She-Hulk's over, I'll do a full review of that. But man, when this is over, I'm taking a week off. I am legitimately, I'll do Friday Night Tights, but that's it. Like I am not. I'm gonna get my fracking pool and sit there for a week. That's all I'm gonna do. Because I haven't swam in it once since I moved here.
I have some time scheduled for the meeting with the family, and so I'm going to need to take like a week or two off at one point. Then I usually take 2 weeks off over Christmas break.
I'm going to start doing it. I can't wait. I'm actually looking forward to the holidays. I'm in a place where it gets cold for the first time in my life, where it like legit gets cold. It's not going to snow, but it gets under like in San Diego and San Francisco, it got 40 degrees during the winter at the coldest. So kind of looking forward to maybe a patch of snow somewhere. That'd be cool. Matt, faction for 100 Canadian pesos. Hail. I really like this episode. Also, I am glad this is doing better than the Rings of Power. I am too. Surprisingly enough, I am too. Bass player 2011 Iffy. I've been rewatching Game of Thrones. Why? And I've been digging more into the weapons, and in doing so, I found out Longclaw is a hand and half sword, aka bastard sword. Yes, a little on the nose for my taste, but I chuckled all the same. Yeah, it's a smaller sword. It's definitely a smaller sword.
Yeah, it's all you could. I guess you could call it a bastard sword. True bastard swords actually have slightly smaller handles. I could go grab one if people wanted to see.
Go grab it. Go grab it.
I'll
read a super chat and you show us a bastard sword, please. Thank you, bass player. Shadow of the Conqueror is greater than ISOM. No, we don't have to. Blacklist Universe for $20. We don't know what's greater than ISOM. Isn't even out yet. Shadow of the Conqueror is awesome. So I guess technically you could say it's better because it's actually out. But what you do is you buy Shadow of the Conqueror, you get it on audiobook, and then you get all 3 covers of ISOM, and you order a T-shirt from a man, Eric July, Renaissance man, entrepreneur, brilliant dude. Can't wait to see what he does next. And you guess what? You win. You win a great book and a great comic book.
And on just, I guess, a bit of an update, because I have mentioned that I have a Shadow of the Conqueror graphic novel in the works. We might be ready to release the launch campaign this week.
Oh, dude. Let me know
if everything goes well. I'm pretty excited for that. And like I said, we've got variant covers, we've got leather-bound versions, we've got the second edition of the novel that you can get in the variant covers. Special collector, you can actually get my novel in the comic book covers and also leather-bound. And so pretty exciting for that. Hopefully it'll go well and I'll be able to launch it this week.
I'm going to say Constantine. I that's just what I'm going to say.
And
Brits need normal names.
So this is a great example of a bastard sword right here. It is easily usable in one hand, but has a girth there. Longclaw is a pretty good example, but it's. I need to have another look at it, actually. It's been too long, so maybe it is.
That looks odd. How many swords do you have?
It's growing, Gary. It's growing. I bought another one last night.
Oh, good. They're so cool.
Oh, they're awesome. They're awesome. The one I bought is a Kriegsmesser. Oh, I've been wanting a Kriegsmesser for a while. 2-handed, beautiful sword. But yeah, I've got, I don't know, between 30 and 50 at the moment.
Do you have a suit of armor, a full suit of armor? A couple of them?
Well, it depends. So I've got a Brigandine, which is a metal cuirass, right? But it has it's on a cloth facing over top, and I got pauldrons and braces that match it. And I have like a really nice, it's polyurethane, but it's made to look really realistic. Basically a full suit of polyurethane. It's made by Wimix. It's hard to pronounce their name, but that's pretty cool. I haven't forked out to get a full plate suit of armor, even though Brigandine is plate, because it's pricey and my weight is fluctuating too much to dish, because they need to be tailored, and I don't want to get one and then I lose weight or I gain weight. So Brigandine is good because it has a bit more room to move. You can close the front.
I love that you want to get it to wear it. That's the So I was looking at some, and when I was in Vegas, there was like this like super high end like art store that had straight up full suits of armor. I was looking at the price of those things, like what? I could get like 4. Well, no.
Well, it's funny because
Model 3s for the price of one of those things. It was like, what the fuck?
Because if you want a good suit, you'll probably it's going to be between 10 to 30,000, like a proper custom made suit. But there are cheap ones, and they go for like 1,000, 2,000, but they're pretty cheap and they're not.
I'll get those. A buddy of mine, his dad was like a pilot back in the day, so he's rich. He had a full one. That's always like when I was a kid, I went to my friend's house and he had this full suit. I like always wanted one because I was just like, that is the coolest fucking thing ever. So hey Shad, how's the Brigandine holding up? Was thinking about buying a set.
It's going great. I got 3 sets. One is solid, steel. The other is actually foam, made to look real, and it's easy, more wearable. And I have this third one, which is it's like the company that sent it to me, right? Sent it to me for free as like a promo review thing. But they located in Ukraine, and they sent it to me right before things hit the fan. And I'm like, and so I don't know what to do with it because I'm holding off revealing it. Hopefully, if they ever get their business back on track, but it's not looking likely. Thing is, though, it's titanium. It's a titanium Brigandine. It's awesome. Really cool. It's really cool. So, I don't know what to do because, again, like I haven't even worn it in a video because I want it to be a reveal to give them the shout out. They provide it for me as this special thing for free, and Ukrainian war.
Fuck. Well, hopefully it's over soon. Yeah. Oh, bullshit. I definitely believe Damon set up Renera at the brothel. Him pulling the hat off, I think does really lean to that. He knew there were spies all around the brothels following him. It still went that way. And isn't that great? We could go like, wow, I didn't catch that. That totally makes sense. That's fucking awesome. That's why I watch television.
That's what you want. Yes.
That's what you want. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta go. There's some super chats. I will read them on my nooner with Chris Gore on Wednesday. Whatever's left over, X-Ray Girl will. So that'll be 12 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. No nooner tomorrow because I'm doing these. Probably not gonna jump back on the Monday nooners until these are over, because I need a day off. Crazy week. I doubled my output. Like, I put 2 videos out a week. That's very new for me. Like I usually do like 1 a week. So, and my poor editors are just poor Garrett, man, just running him to the ground right now. I'm a boomer. Yeah, I'm a boomer. All right. So, Shad, please plug your books.
Shadow of the Conqueror, and keep an eye out if you go to. I'll be announcing on Shadiversity Night's Watch. Hopefully, the release of the graphic novel adaptation of this, and because of course big novel, we're splitting into parts, and this will be the first part release, but also there'll be a second edition version of the novel that you'll be able to get out with it, with a new awesome cover and leather bound option. So if you subscribe to Night's Watch and Shadiversity, you'll see the announcement trailer that I'll drop for that, and that's where you can also find my reviews and other content. Night's Watch is my reviews, Shadiversity is medieval history and medieval fantasy.
I subscribe to both channels. I watch them all the time. I even watch the Shadlands. There's the other channel, Shadlands. Hey,
there is the Shadlands. I need to mention that as well. Yeah, Shadlands for fun family activities, development, working to build castles, all that. But hey, I'm subscribed to you as well, Gary, because you're awesome.
Aw, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate Eric K has been doing a great job, and all the Modrotics and everyone who came here, everyone who left a super chat and donation. Thanks for all the great feedback. Having a good time doing these. So we're gonna keep them on the main channel, and we're gonna roll next week. We have Shad joining us again, right? You're gonna join us again?
Can't wait. Yeah.
We have MauLer, and we have Jane Theory making, I believe, her first. This is my fault, Jane. I'm sorry. I truly apologize. Jane will be on the channel. She is fantastic. Go check out her channel. She has a great voice, and she's also really knowledgeable, a proper nerd, and I mean that in all the best ways. So she will join us Friday Night Tights. Have no idea who the guest is. I know Drink is coming on soon. You'll probably show up again. I'm going to send you the link. I'm just fucking,
dude. I'd love to. Like if it's available,
let's just do this. I'll send you the link. Yeah, people are loving you, dude. And it's been tons of fun. Last episode was great. So thank you for all the support. Thanks everybody who watched my video today. Holy crap, you guys really liked it. So thanks. And Marvel videos coming up, House of the Dragon video. I'll keep doing the videos. They'll be short, but I'll keep them up because they're I like doing them, and I think Perry likes editing them. I did hear the Daredevil comments. I will comment on that on Real BBC. I'll comment on the Daredevil because I can go on for another hour about that stuff. Daredevil's like the greatest single superhero thing outside of Superman the movie. I think it's like the greatest.
The TV series, it's
top notch, really absolutely top notch, and it being effed with bugs the hell out of me. So please have a good night, you all. Hope you enjoyed House of the Dragon, or at least this live stream. And if you didn't, that's okay too. But at least it's something that's pretty good compared to all this shit. Good night, everybody.